7-year low against the dollar ahead of the Fed's action. And 10 detainees, including 5 Britons and 2 Americans, held by pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine, have been freed in a prisoner swap brokered by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They include British national Aidan Oslin, who was facing a death sentence for fighting with Ukrainian forces. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the furious reaction in Iran to news that a 22-year-old woman arrested last week by the country's morality police died in custody of apparent injuries received during her detention. Mahsa Amini was taken into custody last Tuesday after being accused of failing to wear her hijab and trousers in accordance with the country's Islamic laws. Police say her death was unfortunate and blamed it on a heart ailment. The family says she fell into a coma last Friday after suffering violence at the hands of police. Golnaz Efendiari is a senior correspondent covering Iran for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty.
In past months, since Ebrahim Raisi became the president of Iran, he's a hardliner, they have intensified their harassment of women. And there's been more of these morality patrols in the streets of Tehran and other cities. They usually stand outside of big shopping centers or near the metro, and they stop women and they warn them. And in some cases, they take them to the police station to educate them.
And indeed, it was at a so-called re-education centre that the 22-year-old died, sparking days of protests in Iran that have themselves been met with a deadly response by the country's security forces. The main news again, President Biden is urging the international community to condemn Russia's war on Ukraine after President Putin ordered a partial mobilization of military reservists for the first time since the Second World War. Also at the UN, British Prime Minister Liz Truss held her first face-to-face meeting with President Biden since she entered Downing Street. And for the third successive month, the US Federal Reserve has raised interest rates in America by 75 basis points. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
After excitedly posting an image of a Lamborghini Rebenton to his Facebook account earlier this afternoon, 38-year-old little boy Nick Weber talked to Onion reporters about his passion for fast cars.
When I saw that car, I was like, whoa, it was so cool. I had to show it to all my friends. I like red cars the best, but only ones that are really, really fast. I can't wait to get one when I'm older. I'm going to get the fastest car in the whole world.
The Weber also frequently posts about his other interests, which include motorcycles, fighter jets, and Marvel superhero Iron Man. The nearly 40-year-old small child confirmed that sports cars are his favorite, and the picture of the bright yellow Lamborghini has already garnered 15 likes and 9 comments from other enthused middle-aged children who are friends with Weber on the social networking site.
My best friend Bradley, he sent me a picture of a blue convertible that's so awesome. It has these big wheels and even has a racing stripe on it.
After watching several online videos of fast cars and eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for lunch, the home-owning little tyke went to his room to take a nap.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, where you're invited to take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is important to you. 603-283-6160 if you'd like to do that. Again, the number is 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And coming up, the U.S. military has purchased this massive spying dragnet. And this is nothing new, right? I mean, they've been doing this. Well, I mean, they've been researching them and developing them. This is the first time I've heard about them purchasing one from a private company.
What is a dragnet?
This one basically drags all of the information off of the internet and organizes it for them in a useful way. Wow. Apparently, roughly 90% of the world's internet traffic is being caught by this one particular tool.
Wow,
so,
that's crazy.
If it's true, the American military just gained access to, 90% of all of the internet traffic, including data, email data, browsing history, and other information like sensitive internet cookies and other stuff like that. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about nurses now being told that they can be sued if they listen to their doctors. Now, look, I'm not a medical professional. Nikki, you happen to be, but I'm not. It seems to me like there's a hierarchy as far as like who's in charge goes.
Yeah. So
right?
essentially nurses have to work under a doctor's license.
Okay. Yeah. So that's pretty much what I would assume. So if a doctor says, hey, do this, and a nurse says, no, I'm not doing that, it, at the very least could be cause for firing, right?
It could. Yeah. I guess it depends on the circumstance, but it could.
Because the doctor, I'm assuming, is presumed to actually know what is best because, they're the ones with the medical license. But again, I don't know. That's all very weird. But Bonnie, you've had this story for a few days now. I know you had it Monday and we didn't get into it because, as people tend to do, they call.
We had a lot of good calls, actually.
We did, but I wish they wouldn't wait until, the last hour of the show to call. People, if you're going to call tonight, go ahead and do that.
Right now.
603-283-6160. But this is 10 ways to live like a millionaire, even if you're not a millionaire.
Oh, I need this one.
And I always like this. Everyone loves a list, right? That's one of the things I've always heard since I first joined the internet. And it's true. If I had, 2 different articles to choose from and one presented it to me in like top 10 list form, I'm going to watch that one or read that one. So what is this exactly? I got it right, correct? 10 ways to live like a millionaire, even if you're not one?
Even if your bank account is empty. It's from the Foundation for Economic Education.
So even if you're broke, you can enjoy these luxuries.
Yep. You don't have to. I don't think any of them are supposed to cost money, at least not a lot.
See, I would have assumed that everything that a millionaire did cost money in one way or another. I would have assumed that.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of things are just you need money to have the luxury of time type of thing.
That's true.
Want me to go ahead with number one?
Ahead with it.
Number 1 is be fit. There's a strong negative correlation between wealth and obesity in wealthy countries. Why? Contrary to popular belief, the rich are not slimmer because a healthy diet is more expensive or they can afford personal trainers. They are slimmer because they invest more thought into what they eat. Which makes sense to me.
That makes sense.
So it's not even a matter of exercising more or anything like that. It's just, this tracks with most of the things I know about people. Most of the people I know don't spend a lot of time thinking about the quality of the food they're going to eat. They will eat Taco Bell or McDonald's or whatever and just carry on their lives just fine. And of course, they're ballooning in size.
Yeah. And of course, those things are usually more affordable and they're quicker and easier for people who are busy working and whatnot.
Fast food.
But I think it's also like not really a cultural thing, but like what's passed down to you, right? So if you grow up in a wealthier family and you always eat like sit down dinners and, mom's cooking and it's healthy or you have a private chef or whatever, that's going to be what you're used to and you're going to carry that into adulthood. But a lot of lower income families are just, TV dinners, whatever, because their parents maybe don't have the capacity to even or the energy to think about what to cook for dinner. So they just choose whatever's cheapest and easiest. And people will typically pass those habits on to adulthood as well. So
those are really excellent points. And it saddens me to think about. But yeah, I grew up, on TV dinners and all that sort of stuff too. Until I went to live with my grandmother, who was like, no, I'm going to smack you and you're going to eat an actual home-cooked meal sort of thing.
Oh, that's nice.
I guess.
Minus the smacking part, I suppose.
Well, it worked. I just stopped eating TV dinners, and now I don't live a lifestyle of, McDonald's and Burger King and Taco Bell. But I look around me, and it's kind of sad. Like, I had to stop by Walgreens on the way here tonight to pick up a prescription that I needed to pick up, and like the drive-through line at Burger King was wrapped around the building.
It's crazy,
it always is, yeah. And that's the worst Burger King I've ever been to. I don't know why. I've went there a couple times when I was just visiting Ian before I moved here, and he didn't have a coffee machine, and he didn't eat breakfast in the morning. He didn't eat till 5 p.m. So I went to Burger King a couple times, and I've just always been like, no, never again. It's disgusting. I don't know why. It's just something wrong with it.
I've never been in there. I've gone through their drive-through a couple of times, I think. Like, on one occasion, I came back from Fork Fest or something like that, and it was like 9:30 at night before I got back, and I was like, I'm going to hate myself for it, but I'm just going to stop in here and get some Burger King. But it's always, you're right, it's always like that. That line is always wrapped around, and McDonald's has the same problem, and so does the Wendy's here, and the Taco Bell, the KFC. Even though the Taco Bell and the KFC, they're like out of the way, right? I tend to forget they even exist.
Me too,
yeah. They are kind of hidden.
But they're still constantly busy from people who don't put any consideration whatsoever into what they're putting into their bodies.
I picked up an Uber Eats order from that KFC once, and it wasn't even worth the time. Like, I shouldn't have, because they weren't letting you go inside yet. It was like the end of COVID or whatever. And they wouldn't let me go inside, so I had to wait in the line, and it wasn't even worth my time to like make that amount of money because the line was so long and took so long to get through.
So that's always good advice. Pay attention to what you eat, I think, and that's good advice for everyone, whether you're trying to live like a millionaire or what. So what is number 2?
Wear well-fitting clothes. The fashionable rich are not stylish because they can afford luxury brands. They are fashionable because... I don't know about that. Yeah, that's me disagreeing in a way. They are fashionable because they are conscious of fit and style. You don't need to go to a bespoke haute couture tailor to dress well. You can find something that fits you at Goodwill. Okay, well, that's all true, but I'm just saying it's not like if your only option is to shop at Walmart and somebody else's options are anywhere in the world, that they're not just going to naturally look better than you.
Well, and you can also wear nicer brands of clothes and utilize sales. Like, I recently bought a bunch of jeans from Lucky Brand, which are like $100 or more a piece, and I got them all, like, I think the cheapest, I got a pair of shorts for like $16.99.
Dang.
And then I got some jeans for $40. So if you use things like Honey, which is one of those things you can install on your computer to tell you when there are sales, or you can put it in your cart and it tells you when it's cheaper. You can be smart about it.
That's cool. I've never heard of Honey. I was scared you were about to talk about one of these buy now, pay later sorts of things.
No.
So I'm glad to hear that wasn't the case.
No, it's like a coupon thing.
Yeah, Honey is great. It searches the internet for you, and it's free, but you can have a membership.
Coupons as well, right? It's a browser extension.
Yep. Exactly.
Okay, I heard about that way back in the day because it's just a browser extension that automatically like crawls the internet for coupon codes to apply at disc checkout and stuff like that.
Yeah, I had heard about it, but I wasn't using it, and Matt like flipped out and was like, "Oh, I can't believe you're not using Honey. Like, you shouldn't buy anything without checking Honey first." And I was like, "All right, I guess I'll download it then."
Good advice. I don't know about fitting and style and all. I don't care what the latest style or fashion trend really is.
Chasing trends is a horrible idea because if something doesn't work for you, it doesn't matter if it's trendy. That's how I feel.
That's really true. I hate the skinny jean thing that's going on right now.
It's
I absolutely hate it, but it's what's popular, so it's what everyone is wearing on it. Can we get bell bottoms back or something?
I think they are coming back.
Yeah, they are. I like bell bottom things, especially like bell bottom leggings. I love how that looks, but skinny jeans just look better on me than like most other jeans, and I think it's from being short, so it just really depends on what you look like, I think.
But if you're chasing, what's fashionable or whatever, you're changing your wardrobe every year or every 2 years, and you're not going to find the latest fashion trends at Goodwill. You're just not. You may find something that fits, but it's going to be the last fashion trend and not the current one. Coming up, 8 more ways that you can live like a millionaire. So far, it's really good advice. I've never seen a millionaire sloppily dressed, so maybe that's something people should look into. What are your thoughts? Don't wait till the end of the show. What do you do to live like a millionaire? 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
You can help more people hear the message of liberty by joining Free Talk Live's AMPS program on Patreon for as little as $5 a month. And you'll get access to special perks. Visit amps.freetalklive.com, amps.freetalklive.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of your taxes funding endless occupations around the world? Antiwar.com is run by people who understand that wars abroad become wars at home, wars on our freedoms. Antiwar.com is dedicated to bringing you the latest in news, views, interviews, and reviews from the top movers and shakers in the anti-occupation movement. Antiwar.com has it all, from thorough foreign policy analysis to interviews with whistleblowers who used to run the military-industrial complex. Anti-war, pro-free market. That's antiwar.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, where you're invited to take control of the airwaves. You can talk about whatever's important to you. 603-283-6160 if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. I want to tell you about Bullion Max. If you're not paying attention to the world right now and investing in gold and silver, I suspect, this is not financial advice, but I suspect you're going to be regretting that decision at some point in the near future. Europe is in really bad shape. And if you're not already there in Europe with your gold and silver, you might already be screwed. Here in the United States, things aren't that bad. You can hedge your bets against the inflation, the destruction of the currency that is going to result, because Europe has no gas right now. They're getting it from Russia. It's a mess what's going on there in Europe. What the people are clamoring for in order to solve this problem is government handouts. Well, in order for government to pay your electricity bill that's like 20 times higher than it was a month before, they're going to have to inflate the currency. And bullionmax.com/FTL will get you started with a silver purchase. You get 5 ounces of silver just over market price. You get it at the employee discount. That's bullionmax.com/FTL. And this allows you to protect yourself against these inflationary monetary policies that we see from these governments around the world, that they don't care if they're destroying your money supply as long as they get one more year of power. Elect them for one more term, and they promise they'll fix everything. So bullionmax.com/FTL, that's where you need to go to get started. You get, again, the employee discount, and it's 5 ounces of silver. It's hard to beat. I've ordered some, finally, after several weeks of attempting to, and it's absolutely beautiful, some of it. I mean, I'm a huge fan of silver anyway because it's absolutely beautiful. I don't have as much silver as I do gold because the gold back makes having gold so easy and so convenient.
And the gold back makes gold so pretty. Like, I love silver too. I love the sound, like tapping it. I love doing that. But gold backs are just so pretty because they're like art.
They are. But, you know, silver is also like art. Most of the silver that I get is engraved. I do have some a 10-ounce silver bar that I got from Silver Dave here in New Hampshire. And it's boring and plain and ugly. But, I mean, it's still a piece of silver, which makes it absolutely beautiful.
Still prettier than USD.
It's absolutely prettier than USD. So bullionmax.com/FTL. We're talking about ways that you can live like a millionaire, even if you aren't one, even if you have $0 in your bank account. So far, it's all pretty obvious stuff like eating better than, you know, putting thought into what you eat, which I think is good advice, and wearing clothes that actually fit you. I don't know about that one. You know, baggy clothes, they may not fit everyone's idea of what looks good and what doesn't look good, but I'm a fan. You know,
the article says baggy clothes make you look adolescent and sloppy. But I like baggy shirts sometimes.
Yeah, I like baggy band T-shirts.
Yeah, and
I feel personally attacked by this.
Yeah.
Plus, honestly, I feel adolescent when I'm wearing too much tight clothing. Like, I feel like I look like a middle schooler trying to show off my boobs or something. Like,
Yep.
I really don't like that feeling. I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's so true. When I was in middle school, I had like some like whatever, like body image issues. So I would always be like, no, I swear I'm a size 0. And I would always buy ill-fitting clothes just because I was like, no, I'm a 0. And then eventually, like once I became an adult, I was like, let's just get clothes that fit, can we?
That's understandable. I think clothes that fit, you know, in the important parts is, you know, important, like clothes that actually fit your shoulders or your waist or whatever. I don't think by baggy clothes, I don't mean someone out there should, you know, throw in a pair of size, you know, 80 pants if they were supposed to wear like a size 32 or whatever. I'm thinking men's measurements here, but a size 20 instead of wearing a size 7 like they should be. That's not what people mean by baggy. I mean, like, and I don't know how to characterize the difference, but I don't mean throw on clothes that are, you know, 15 sizes too big. I just mean it can be loose fitting, and I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah, I tend not to think that's a problem either.
But evidently these people disagree. So what else do they have to offer us?
One last thing on the clothing thing, because I like solutions. It says, like, because lots of people will be like, ugh, they're telling me to dress more, you know, better, but they're not telling me how. It says men check out Art of Manliness, and women check out Evie magazine, EVIE. So I don't know. I just wanted to add that.
I don't know about I don't know about getting my fashion tips from a magazine. I'm not 19 anymore.
Or from a libertarian publication, but
I wasn't gonna go there, but I'm glad you did. This is Evie magazine, EVIE.
Yep, I've heard of it. Not sure what it is though.
I've never heard of it. I don't know. I'm curious now. I mean, it looks like it's just your standard women's magazine website so far. And I don't know. I'll check it out some other time.
Well, number 3 is show up on time and be fully present. The rich are not always punctual and the poor are not always late, but the wealthy can afford to be physically and mentally present for occasions that they deem worth their time, something many humans struggle to do.
That's good. Yeah. I mean, showing up on time is... I prefer to show up early. It gives me time to mentally prepare, but to me, that's on time because I include that in the on-time part. It's just the whole being there early thing. So, I mean, that's good advice. Not being late is generally good advice, and paying attention to where you are and what you're doing also, as you might suspect, is a good thing to do.
I mean, I think this is good advice, but I don't know if it would make me feel like a millionaire.
That's a really good point.
Let's see what it says. It says in a 2019 experiment involving 2,250 adults, Harvard psychologists Matthew Killingsworth and Daniel Gilbert found that the human brain is wired for continuous distraction, concluding that a typical person spends 47% of every waking hour mind-wandering, an experience so ordinary we rarely notice it. Well, like daydreaming.
So if I take Adderall, will I feel like a millionaire?
Honestly,
maybe,
yeah, because she just gets so much done.
So that's what they're saying here. But I mean, if the average human adult spends like 47% of their time with their mind wandering, how are you supposed to control that? It sounds like that's just what it means to be human. Unless they're doing Adderall.
Just like recently, like in the last year, I've tried to make it a conscious effort to just be more present, and that's just a really hard thing to do. It's like trying to remember to sit up straight for people who don't just like naturally sit up straight. It's just like, oh yeah, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. It's just like a constant, I don't know, yelling at yourself in your head. But it says, as with diet, the root cause of our mental disengagement is often stress. It's easier to be present when you have self-discipline and can spend money to make your distractions go away. But if you're poor, there is something else you can throw away to make your stressors go away. Attachments.
Oh, and I think meditation would be a really good tool. You know, that's a free thing you can do. Even if you don't have time, like 5 minutes, and that's a great tool to like be more mindful and kind of
more focused.
Yeah, more focused.
Yeah, but I mean, attachments. Sure, if you want to become a Buddhist, you can live at more. I'm starting to wonder what they mean by living like a millionaire here, because I'm not sure we're on the same page anymore.
And, like, most of the millionaires that I'm thinking of, I don't think they're super. I mean, I guess maybe like business millionaires who are like self-made and whatnot. But I'm thinking of a lot of people who just inherited money, and I don't think they're super mindful, and I don't know.
Unfortunately, I don't think they really explain what they mean by feeling like a millionaire, but we're going to talk more about what exactly they think you should do. It is still good advice, even if I don't think it's going to make you feel like a millionaire or help you live like a millionaire or whatever. Being mindful is a good thing. 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. US President Joe Biden is again urging the international community to condemn Russia's war on Ukraine after President Vladimir Putin ordered a partial mobilization of military reservists in Russia for the first time since the Second World War. The US president told the UN General Assembly that the Kremlin has violated the core tenets of the United Nations. From FSN's bureau at UN headquarters in New York, Will Denzelo with more.
President Joe Biden accused Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, of an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter, saying that the war is trying to extinguish the Ukrainian right to exist. He said that should make anyone's blood run cold.
Now, Russia's calling up more soldiers, and the Kremlin is organizing a sham referenda to try to annex parts of Ukraine, an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter.
He also called on nations to do more to not only support Ukraine, but also to impose costs on Russia.
Also at the UN today, Liz Truss held her first face-to-face meeting with President Biden since she became British Prime Minister. Both leaders insisted they want to take steps to protect the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, despite the UK government's threat to tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol. Also in New York today,
we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company.
The state's Attorney General, Letitia James, saying she's suing former President Donald Trump and 3 of his adult children. She alleges they engaged in a conspiracy to overstate the value of the Trump Organization's assets in order to secure loans at favorable rates. The suit seeks to force the Trumps to pay $250 million in fines, and they would be banned from ever running businesses in New York again. The Attorney General is also making a criminal referral about the Trumps' alleged activities to the U.S. Department of Justice. Eric Trump and his brother Donald Trump Jr. dismissed the charges as a witch hunt against them and their father. Two other headlines. For the third successive month, the US Federal Reserve has raised interest rates in America by 75 basis points. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates in the UK tomorrow. The pound fell to a fresh 37-year low against the dollar ahead of the Fed's action. And 10 detainees, including 5 Britons and 2 Americans, held by pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine, have been freed in a prisoner swap brokered by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They include British national Aidan Oslin, who was facing a death sentence for fighting with Ukrainian forces. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is important to you. 603-283-6160 if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. And with you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And man, I must be really rusty at my job because we just promoted BullionMax.com, and we're talking about ways that someone can look and feel like a millionaire, ways one can live like a millionaire without actually being one. And there's, if you really want to feel like a millionaire, clank around some silver, some literal silver in your pockets, man. That's how you will achieve it. If you want to feel like a millionaire, have some actual money of value. But I didn't think to say that, and I don't want to rehash the Bullion Max thing, but I'm just saying, just observing here that I should have connected those two things together mentally. But we are here talking about ways that one can feel like a millionaire or live like a millionaire, and I'm not sure that I agree with the authors here on a lot of this stuff, like eating healthy or being more mindful of what you eat, being more mindful of where you're at and what you're doing. These are all good things, but I'm not convinced they're going to make me feel like a millionaire. If I follow all 10 of these steps, I don't think I'll feel any different.
Well, I think that the food one is like, if your body feels better, you'll get more things done. You'll be more positive. You won't have to feel like you're struggling as much. And that's like, being poor is just partially feeling like I don't have enough to do what I want to do is like one of the worst things about it.
Or that saying like, oh, I feel like $1 million. You know,
really
maybe
good.
That's more what they mean. I don't know.
Really good points, especially the health and eating one, because we are what we eat. So if you're, cramming McDonald's and crap like that into your body all the time, then you're not going to have a lot of energy to go jogging and do all of these other productive things. So definitely be mindful of what you eat and, make changes to your diet accordingly to look and feel healthier. What else do they have to offer?
Well, we never finished this one about show up on time and be fully present because it goes into why it says get rid of distractions. I mean, distractions, but also attachments. And I also kind of don't really agree with the whole Buddhist, like, you should have no attachments thing. Like, I'm always going to be attached to Ian and Coconut, and getting rid of that wouldn't help me. Like, oh, I don't care what happens to Ian isn't going to help me. And sometimes I think people take that too far.
I mean, it could, right? I'm a Buddhist in the sense that I think they're correct. I don't apply it as much as I should, but I think that's correct. If I'm not worried about something that can happen to someone else because I'm not attached to them, then I'm more at peace with what is going on in the present.
Well, worrying is, the worst part about it is like just basically casting a spell on the people that you care about by saying, oh, well, this bad thing could happen, and imagining it for no reason when it won't help your situation at all.
Well, and I think with the attachments thing, it's also being completely happy and content and at peace with yourself and your, current state without having to outsource to like objects and other people.
Right. I think the Buddhist maxim, there's 4 noble truths. I think the first one is that there is suffering. I don't remember exactly how they're all phrased, but the gist of it is that desire is the cause of all suffering. Desire and attachment, that sort of thing. And as far as I can tell, that's simply just an observation. If you have no expectation about things going good or things going bad, then you can't ever be disappointed with them going badly because they didn't go good, they didn't go bad, they just went. But that's me. Other people disagree, and I don't think your average millionaire is a Buddhist. If they were, I don't think they would have become millionaires in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Maybe they mean it a little different. It says all relationships and possessions cost time and money. Some relationships...
That's true of the $1 million the millionaire has in the bank as well.
Yep.
But I definitely agree on physical attachments. I have a guitar collection that I'm working on. I didn't want to ever think of myself as a guitar collector, but I use them all, right? So it's not like they're just sitting there being a collector. It's not like a game collection or a stamp collection or anything like that. It's like these things are literally useful to me. But I have some friends who just moved from Ohio to like Tennessee, and their entire house of stuff. And granted, they have 3 kids. It's 2 of them and 3 kids. But the sheer volume of crap that they had to move from one place to another. Yeah, I've got like 6 guitars at this point. But guitars aside, if I had to take all of my possessions, I could fit them in my Eclipse. Everything except the music equipment.
That's what I like about Ian too. He has a lot of things that like the studio and stuff, but in just like
but see,
useless
that's another
things,
thing that it does something.
Exactly. I was gonna say
like the minimalistic.
He doesn't collect, and I've always been sort of that way, but Ian makes me look like a hoarder comparatively.
And, you know, I love video games, but that's where I diverge from so many of these video game players is that there's so many who are like, well, if you don't have the actual original hardware and the actual original games, then you're just a hack or whatever. I'm like, dude, you have an entire room of your house that looks like it belongs to a 6-year-old. Okay, come on. I've got a folder on my computer that has all of that crap in it. And I've still got plenty of space. And I can, I don't have to have these wires running everywhere to connect 50 different consoles. I can just click a different icon. So I'm not a fan of collecting stuff in general. To me, it's a waste of space. It's maintenance. First of all, you got to dust it. You got to pick it up and dust under it. I don't want to do all that crap. Just for the sheer purpose of being lazy, I don't want to have to clean up my own crap.
Well, and it makes me anxious to see things everywhere. Like I'm constantly giving things away, throwing things away, just 'cause I'm like, we don't need all this. Like, let's get rid of it.
Yeah, my ex-wife was like that. Well, not like that. She was the opposite of that. We're like, every surface in the house, everywhere, every desk, every counter, every desktop, everything had to be filled with crap.
No.
It had to have, knickknacks and books and little trinkets.
Knickknacks are the worst.
And all sorts of crap. And we have cats, right? So it's just a bad recipe in the first place. But she got that from her mom, I'm guessing. I don't know. I just can't stand it. Why there's like a little 6-inch by 6-inch space for me to put my drink down. Everywhere else is just covered with crap that I don't care about that came from yards. It's a 50-cent unicorn trinket. Can we please throw this in the trash?
But to some people, that makes them happy.
Some people are better at it than others though. Like one of Nikki's friends that I went to her house, I commented like, your house is so cozy because there's just all these cute knickknacks and stuff everywhere. But she has like, really cute taste, and her house feels so homey, and she's like a mom, and you just think that she'd be a good mom to live with or whatever. I think you know what I'm talking about.
I don't know if I do or not. But I mean, if you can make it work, then make it work, right? But then you have the other people who go the opposite direction, who they don't really care if it works as long as it looks good. Like these Instagram moms and stuff like that. They don't actually use their living room. God forbid someone actually come in there and sit down in the living room, because that's going to ruin their perfect Instagram shot. And they just can't have that.
I would say one thing I don't like about myself is that I don't really decorate things in, like, I go too far. Like, I like to have not a lot of things.
There's pumpkins over there. That's decorating.
My room is just looks like how Ian's room looked like when I moved in here. Like, I don't really decorate things, and I never really have, and my sister's really good at it.
You sleep in it, right?
Well, it has, my clothes and stuff. It doesn't have, I don't know. I don't have any good taste. It's not like a room
you hang out in. So why would you decorate it, right?
Well, my sister's just so naturally good at this. She just makes her room look like her personality and stuff like that. And for some reason, I didn't get that part of Jean's that she has. She's also really good at dressing and stuff like that. And I think that if your house is really ugly and plain, it can make you depressed. And I used to think I should decorate, and I never have any energy to do that.
So what else do they have to offer as far as living like a millionaire? I can't imagine too many millionaires adjusting the trinkets on their desk to make sure they're perfectly equidistant or whatever. But maybe they do. Well, I know I don't want to, and I don't like having the crap.
Here's something though. It's still talking about the no possessions, and this might give us some info into this writer's Life. It says, I didn't own a car until I got my master's degree at 23.
Oh my gosh, give me a break.
It's not
Dude, imagine even getting your master's at 23.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not that I couldn't afford or didn't want a car. I knew that it would be an ongoing cost and distraction from my main goal of completing my education.
They just live in a city because living in rural New Hampshire, I need a car. I'm sorry.
Well, mommy and daddy were letting them use their car.
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
Just because they didn't own a car doesn't mean they didn't have one. And getting your master's at 23, I'm sorry, dude, it sounds to me like you may have a little bit of a spoiled life there. Even the people I know who have masters didn't get them before 25. 603-283-6160. Correct me if I'm wrong, though. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
Never grocery shop when you're hungry. I'm Holland Cook with Inflation Hacks. Money Talks News urges against serving size portions. They're convenient, but you're paying for packaging and the labor to assemble it, as you will see by comparing unit price with bigger sizes that you can baggy up yourself. And demote meat from its starring role to the supporting cast in tasty casseroles and soups and stews. Regardless of how carefully you shop, you're racing the clock because food expires. Slightly stale bread makes great French toast, or you can use it for breadcrumbs. And you can freeze breads, bagels, and muffins. Let them thaw overnight and they're good as new. Turn overripe bananas into banana bread, or freeze them and then mash them up in the food processor for a yummy and healthy dessert. How are you coping? Post your inflation hacks at andyoucanquoteme.com.
I'm a little obsessed with My Magic Mud. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, the founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I didn't even know my teeth were coffee stained. A week's worth of use convinced me, and now I use it every 3 or 4 days. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, and I think it cleans better too. My Magic Mud's available at most local health food stores, Sprouts, Natural Grocers, CVS, Walmart's Natural Beauty Aisle, but I can get it for you for 20% off with coupon code FTL20 at mymagicmud.com. FTL20 mymagicmud.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 15th through the 18th for the 7th annual Fork Fest at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Fork Fest is a fork of the Porcupine Freedom Festival, which sold out in 2022. For 2023, we're going back to where it all started, the weekend before PorcFest. ForkFest is decentralized, which means that there's no ticket cost and no one is in charge. All you have to do to join the fun is reserve your camping site, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 15th through the 18th. You can find out more at the unofficial website forkfest.party. You can also connect with other attendees on the ForkFest Telegram and Matrix chat rooms, as well as the ForkFest forum. You can find links to those at forkfest.party. We hope to see you there June 15th through the 18th. forkfest.party. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160. If you want to join us, that's 603-283-6160. Talking about what it means to be a millionaire here, just lifestyle tips in general. It seems to be what is coming from the Foundation for Economic Education. That's correct, right? This is Fee that we're reading from. And, maybe you missed the boat and you're not a Bitcoin billionaire or you're not a Bitcoin millionaire, but you're still sitting there. Because, if you're a Bitcoin billionaire, what the hell are you doing listening to us anyway? Go retire on a beach, you lunatic, or whatever it is you want to do with your spare time. But, there are plenty of people out there who are hardworking and they're trying to invest in their future. And I don't think you should look at Bitcoin and cryptocurrency as an investment, but as a way to secure your place in the future. And I guess in a sense, that's a different way of saying investment, but it's not. I don't think you should get into cryptocurrency with the goal of buying cryptocurrency, waiting until it goes up in value, and then selling cryptocurrency. No, you should be buying the cryptocurrency so that in the future, when the world is run on cryptocurrency, you have your stake in there. You can make purchases. You can make sales. You can find out what the hell I'm talking about at Bitcoin.com. Click Getting Started at the top of the page. Take just a few minutes out of your day. That's all it takes. You can dig as deep into this or as shallowly into this as you want. But you shouldn't get into cryptocurrency without first learning about it. So head on over to Bitcoin.com. And if you do already know about it, news.bitcoin.com will keep you in the loop on everything that's happening in the cryptocurrency world. All on a sleek, easy-to-use modern website. All of that and more over at Bitcoin.com. Talking about Fee here, the Foundation for Economic Education, one of my more favorite foundations. I think this is the one that Ron Paul is, or no, he was the Foundation for Rational and Economic Education. I think I still like Fee, though. But,
I like Fee.
Yeah. But there's so many. Free was the one that Ron Paul was affiliated with, which, again, was the Foundation for Rational and Economic Education, whereas Fee is the Foundation for Economic Education. It all gets very confusing. Don't worry, I'm as confused as you are.
Was that related? Like, was he jabbing at Fee when he made it or anything?
I doubt it. That's not really Ron Paul's style, so I doubt it.
What I like about Fee is a lot of the writers, like on Twitter and stuff, they push back against the conservatarians. Well, the conservatives who think they're libertarians.
Oh, that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
I love
do
that.
like that.
I liked that about Reason, too, but I don't know if Reason still does that.
You know what? I'm thinking of Reason. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah,
they do.
They are. Okay, awesome. Because they're really good at that. And they're little clips with that guy. I don't know that guy's name, but he's so funny. He was the one who did the 20 gifts ideas for libertarians or whatever. And I can't think of any examples off the top of my head, but one of them is like a doorbell that shouts, "Come back with a warrant," or something like that.
That's great.
It was really cool. And that's put forward by Reason, and they do great work over there. But this is Fee, the Foundation for Economic Education, fee.org, I think is the website. And they also do great work. And here they put together a list of 10 things that you can do to help feel like a millionaire. What is the next one on their list, Bonnie?
Number 4 is take care in your appearance. And before we even read it, I just have to say I agree. Like, there's so many people.
I don't know what you're going to say, but I agree.
There's just so many people that are just willfully ugly. Like, even like the ugliest person could just try a little harder and look better. Like, I've seen some people that I've been like, I literally said the words about a girl that I went to high school with. I feel bad for her because she's just unhelpably ugly. And now I still have her on like in social media and stuff. And she looks really good because she started caring and taking care of herself. Like, her face didn't change. She didn't go get plastic surgery. She just started doing things differently.
I mean, I think there probably are some people who are, as you put it, unhelpably ugly.
Maybe.
That said, I think most people, they're either not putting any work into their appearance or they're not doing it in the right way, right? They're not taking the time to evaluate their features and saying, okay, these are strong features. I should highlight these and I should direct attention away from these, which is why I do my eyeshadow, to direct people to my eyes, which is one of my better features. Most people don't do that. They just think, okay, men don't do any of that anyway, but women, there's, okay, well, I throw on eyeshadow and lipstick and lip gloss and I'm good to go. But you do need to spend some time, make sure your haircut fits your facial structure and all of that sort of thing. I think that's good advice.
Things that like work for you specifically. It's like the trend chasing thing. Like, everyone wanted to wear the same exact ugly mask of makeup in like 2016 when Jeffree Star was really big on YouTube, and it just looked horrible on most people. So take care of your appearance. No amount of wealth will give you a younger body, and plastic surgery can only do.
Lie. I mean, let's just be honest. That is a lie. If you don't have a lot of money, you're going to stress out a lot, and stress is going to give you wrinkles. It's going to ruin your skin. It's going to make your hair gray. It's going to make you unattractive. That's just the obvious things. However, yes, Botox, plastic surgery, all of these things exist. Facelifts, all of it exists, and it can all be paid for with money. There's a reason that Sandra Bullock is like a grandmother, and dude, I would date her.
Yeah, she looks like she's 30.
Yeah, she's like twice my age. I would date this lady. And that's
like
true of a lot
Salma
of
Hayek.
Dude, I can't even think of her as being 60 years old.
Exactly.
So, I mean, yeah, and it's not because, they're eating salads or whatever that they look like that. It's because they're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on cosmetic surgery.
I was just thinking about this show. I forget what it was called, but it was Extreme Makeover or something, where they would take, like, their friends would nominate them, and they would take this person who was just, like, ungroomed and just didn't know what to do. No, because I think, maybe it was What Not to Wear. Yeah, because then they would do the makeover after.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was What Not to Wear. And they would just, like, show them, like, these are clothes that are flattering for your body type. This would make, would make you look more attractive, whatever.
And they'd help them stop being attached to stupid things that they liked. Like if there was somebody who's like, it's just my thing. I just wear tutus every day. Like there was all kinds of people like that. That's why they got nominated for this show. And they would be like, listen, this is what it's making you look like. Just here's a dose of reality. And it was awesome.
Nice. I like that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Like one of the reasons I wear skirts is because I have no lower body features to speak of whatsoever. So skirts being more comfortable, that makes the most sense for me to wear. But like, if you have a really great lower figure, throw on a pair of tight jeans or whatever. Do what works for you. Good advice. But it isn't going to work for everyone, and this isn't a way of being attractive or unattractive. That said, I don't think I've ever seen an ugly millionaire.
I have. You have? I can't think of an example, but I know I definitely have.
What's his name's wife?
Elon Musk.
Elon Musk and Grimes are ugly.
Okay, that's true.
Arya doesn't think that Grimes is ugly.
Grimes is ugly in some pictures. I'll give you that. But on the whole, I think she has pleasant, like that. The great example of exactly what we're talking about. Some of these pictures of her are just not flattering. She's got her makeup wrong. She's got her hair wrong. Everything about her is wrong, and she's not attractive.
I think she's just naturally very ugly, and then she's done lots of things to assist to where she's had like a slight glow up and looks okay in some pictures with crap tons of makeup on and things like that.
So what's their next piece of advice?
Well, we didn't get into how to take care of your appearance.
Okay.
It says there are free or low-cost ways to dramatically slow down aging or look younger. Here are some suggestions for both women and men.
Stop smoking.
Oh, that's a good one. I didn't think about that. And it's not on here.
Stop doing drugs.
I don't even know if that's true, right? Because I smoked through most of my entire life, and people think in general that I'm younger than I am. So
it affects everyone differently, right? So I know some people have been smoking for 50 years. It didn't really affect their appearance that you can see, and they don't have cancer or anything. But I know some people who are smoking for 10 years and maybe doing drugs too, and it's like, whoa. You've aged a lot.
So you have like Ozzy Osbourne, who's like 150 years old now, and they look like they're still 60.
Yeah.
So what else do they have to say, Bonnie?
Use sun protection. I don't really like this one. I think that the only reason that people's skin gets messed up from the sun is because they eat seed oils.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, I mean, to a certain extent, we evolved to get sunlight, right? I mean, we get a key nutrient, vitamin D, from sunlight.
I'm a firm believer that the chemicals in sunblock actually give you skin cancer.
Me too. That's why I just don't wear it at all.
I've never used sunblock in my life. I've used tanning beds though, and I've set a limit on how long I was going to use tanning beds, and this past year was the last year that I'm ever going to do it. I've only did it sparingly there because I know that they're going to give you skin cancer, right? At least in theory, but don't they just like supercharge what the sun does?
Yeah, pretty much. It's just UV rays.
Yeah. So I don't know. All of these things are good advice. I don't know about sunscreen though, because if human beings evolved, and I understand, when humans didn't wear sunscreen all the time, they died at the age of 23 of sepsis and cholera and stuff like that. So maybe there's some truth to it, but I don't see sunscreen as being a useful tip for people.
I think slathering your skin with things that are unnatural, like the stuff that's in sunscreen other than just the SPF stuff, and in foundation is pretty bad for you. Like, I stopped wearing foundation like half of this year, and I seriously remember telling my friend that I thought I was getting wrinkles, and those are all just gone. I think that a lot of makeup like really has been it starts the aging process for people. I don't know. It's just my theory.
Well, wearing something on your skin, wearing paint on your skin all the time, it really can't be good for you. There's more coming out. We're going to wrap this article up. 603-283-6160 if you want to weigh in on what you do to look and feel great. There is more coming up here. It is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in Liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. US President Joe Biden is again urging the international community to condemn Russia's war on Ukraine after President Vladimir Putin ordered a partial mobilization of military reservists in Russia for the first time since the Second World War. The US president told the UN General Assembly that the Kremlin has violated the core tenets of the United Nations. From FSN's bureau at UN headquarters in New York, Will Denzelo with more.
President Joe Biden accused Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, of an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter, saying that the war is trying to extinguish the Ukrainian right to exist. He said that that should make anyone's blood run cold.
Now, Russia's calling up more soldiers, and the Kremlin is organizing a sham referenda to try to annex parts of Ukraine, an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter.
He also called on nations to do more to not only support Ukraine, but also to impose costs on Russia.
Also at the UN today, Liz Truss held her first face-to-face meeting with President Biden since she became British Prime Minister. Both leaders insisted they want to take steps to protect the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, despite the UK government's threat to tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol. Also in New York today,
we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company.
The state's Attorney General, Letitia James, saying she's suing former President Donald Trump and 3 of his adult children. She alleges they engaged in a conspiracy to overstate the value of the Trump Organization's assets in order to secure loans at favorable rates. The suit seeks to force the Trumps to pay $250 million in fines, and they would be banned from ever running businesses in New York again. The Attorney General is also making a criminal referral about the Trump's alleged activities to the U.S. Department of Justice. Eric Trump and his brother Donald Trump Jr. dismissed the charges as a witch hunt against them and their father. Two other headlines. For the third successive month, the U.S. Federal Reserve has raised interest rates in America by 75 basis points. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates in the UK tomorrow. The pound fell to a fresh 37-year low against the dollar ahead of the Fed's action. And 10 detainees, including 5 Britons and 2 Americans, held by pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine, have been freed in a prisoner swap brokered by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They include British national Aidan Oslin, who was facing a death sentence for fighting with Ukrainian forces. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the furious reaction in Iran to news that a 22-year-old woman arrested last week by the country's morality police died in custody of apparent injuries received during her detention. Mahsa Amini was taken into custody last Tuesday after being accused of failing to wear her hijab and trousers in accordance with the country's Islamic laws. Police say her death was unfortunate and blamed it on a heart ailment. The family says she fell into a coma last Friday after suffering violence at the hands of police. Golnaz Efendiari is a senior correspondent covering Iran for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty.
In past months, since Ebrahim Raisi became the president of Iran, he's a hardliner, they have intensified their harassment of women. And there's been more of these morality patrols in the streets of Tehran and other cities. They usually stand outside of big shopping centers or near the metro, and they stop women and they warn them. And in some cases, they take them to the police station to educate them.
And indeed, it was at a so-called re-education centre that the 22-year-old died, sparking days of protests in Iran that have themselves been met with a deadly response by the country's security forces. The main news again. President Biden is urging the international community to condemn Russia's war on Ukraine after President Putin ordered a partial mobilization of military reservists for the first time since the Second World War. Also at the UN, British Prime Minister Liz Truss held her first face-to-face meeting with President Biden since she entered Downing Street. And for the third successive month, the US Federal Reserve has raised interest rates in America by 75 basis points. And that is the latest feature story news. Simon Marks reporting.
Everyone in a bustling Chinese parade is attempting to elude pursuers. Newly discovered cave paintings suggest early man was battling a lot of inner demons, and a xylophonist is shredding it. This Tuesday, FBI officials disclosed details of a disturbing al-Qaeda plot to just kick back, relax, and savor the inevitable collapse of the United States. Intelligence agencies confirmed the massive coordinated plan involves terrorist cells across the globe, training specifically to take a load off and unwind as America's political infighting, class divides, moral indolence, and environmental self-destruction gradually tear the nation apart.
Our righteous warriors will devote our time to relaxing and really soaking in the infidel self-destruction. America's cities will be reduced to ruins. The economy will come to a standstill. And we, the blessed of Islam, will kick back, put our feet up, and enjoy the show. It's going to be great.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is on your mind. 603-283-6160 if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And coming up, we're going to be talking about how the U.S. military has purchased this massive internet monitoring tool that claims to cover over 90% of the world's internet traffic. But first, we're talking about this FEE article that talks about things you can do to be a millionaire. What else do they have to suggest, people, Bonnie? Because so far, a lot of this is good advice, but it's not going to make any noticeable difference to anyone's lives.
This one is one that I can't say I agree with in my own life, and I was thinking about skipping it. It says, raise a big family.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we talked about this one in the last break. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what the hell they're going to... And it sounds like a conservatarian piece,
It
right?
does.
You
It
need
does.
to have a bunch of nice little white Christian kids running around.
It's just
That'll
like-
make you feel like $1 million.
People on Twitter and stuff keep saying, like, women aren't fulfilled until they have kids. Why do I know so many women that have kids? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It doesn't matter how many, and they're just completely miserable and complain about it all the time. Like, if it just makes women fulfilled, it's the only thing women are born for.
Well, and that's the thing. It has nothing to do with the kids, right? It's like fulfillment and happiness. It can't be outsourced. So, and for some people, maybe they love their children and they love having a big family, and that works for them, and that's cool. But I know a lot of people, probably the majority of people, who at least right now in their lives, they want 0 kids, and they are perfectly happy and content with their lives. And I'm sure if they had a kid or 10, they would be miserable because of it, and maybe they're just happier without kids. So I think both are weird, right? It's like, oh, the shaming of not having children is weird, and the shaming, it's just let people do whatever they want. I think it's just such a personal thing that you can't really say like this is going to make everybody happy.
Exactly. That's how I feel too. It's not like I think that no one is happy with a lot of kids. Like I was saying during the break that my parents have 8 kids, and they are the type of people that really wanted kids and made them really happy. But it's just not everyone.
I think that people having kids because they're unfulfilled or because they're bored or whatever, that's terrible advice.
Yeah.
Like if the reason you're having kids is because you don't feel whole as a human being.
Red flag.
Yeah. Get a dog first.
Right.
That's a good point.
I mean, you don't want to have a child just because you feel like you haven't accomplished anything with your life or you have no legacy or whatever.
Well, and I know a lot of, and I don't want to say a lot, but I know some women who it seemed like they either had a child with somebody to kind of try to like keep them in that relationship.
Oh, that's worse
which
too.
is
Yeah.
terrible. Or because they were like, they needed to fill that void. And surprise, you have a kid, the void's still there. It's not going to fix the mental issues you have.
What else do they have to offer, Bonnie?
Number 6, work at having a successful marriage. I mean,
if
that's
you
for
want to
people
get
that are
married,
married.
I
Yeah,
guess.
exactly.
I don't want to get married, so why would I waste time working at a successful thing I don't want?
It should just say having a successful relationship, but even then, it's just like not everyone wants that either.
Well, and going back to like not being attached to things. I mean,
Also
you
a
should
really
be
good
happy
point.
alone, but also if you're going to be in a relationship, it should be one that's healthy and happy.
You know what I think is crazy? Like, I was always really boy crazy and like really thought like I had to have a boyfriend, and like that was just part of my like what made me happy. It was like if I didn't have a boyfriend, I was like, how can I meet my next boyfriend? Like that was like how I was. And after my last relationship that was just so crazy, I found myself like I sincerely don't want to date anyone until my life is like better. Like I don't know, until I'm fixed in a few couple ways. And for the first time like ever, I remember thinking like I guess I would be fine if I never met anyone else. Like I just remember that thought, and I thought maybe that means that I'll never date again too, which is weird. Right. But it was just like a messed up thought pattern. I was like, you know what, I'm happy right now, so I'll never date again. And then I meet the love of my life the next time I date someone.
That's often how it happens. I consider myself to have been single for like the last 7 or 8 years or whatever, but that's not entirely true. I've dated and stuff like that, and I've had girlfriends here and there, but like I have not had a single girlfriend that I thought, yes, this is going to be the one that lasts. So in that sense, I've been single, and I've come to terms with being single, and I've rather enjoyed being single. So I have no rush or desire to jump into a relationship, and damn sure not a marriage that gets God or government involved in my relationships. Both God and government can stay out as far as I'm concerned.
And another thing I have to say about this is I think that people too often think there's never going to be someone who's perfect for me. And I used to think that. I used to think like, oh, this person's like a complete idiot, but I like them in other ways, so it's fine, and I'll just live with having a complete idiot for a husband, and it'll be fine because I love them. And just all kinds of different things that I was like compromising on, and I just didn't know that there was someone like Ian out there for me who there is just absolutely nothing wrong with, and I like everything about him.
You should marry him. What's number 7?
Complain less. Then you know what? That one's adding me. I feel like I
we
complain
should
a lot.
just skip over that one.
It says wealthy people are happier, while the poor are much more likely to be depressed. Part of the reason is that the rich can throw money at problems. I'm glad he was honest this time.
So, hold on. His solution to feel like a millionaire is to not think about the ways in which your life sucks.
I guess so. I mean, and I'm thinking of a lot of like wealthier people that I know, and they totally complain all the time.
Well, I do know a lot of people who aren't wealthy at all, but are just really happy because they're content with everything. Like,
yeah,
they just don't complain. I guess you can realize what you want and what you're lacking and what you want to work for without complaining about it.
Certainly.
I could probably work on that one.
Me too.
You know?
Me too.
Yeah.
So number 8? I think we're on number 8.
Yep. And learn to enjoy great art.
That's like kind of
maybe?
random. I don't know. That's just so random. I don't know.
Define art, right? Because I enjoy a good music concert, and
yeah, that's art.
I would call that art, and I enjoy it, and I've learned to take the time off to do that, and I enjoy taking time off every once in a while to watch a good movie or a bad movie as it happens. So I don't know what they mean, and I don't know. Do they mean that I should learn to appreciate a Campbell's soup can hanging up in my living room? Boy, gosh darn, that's some fine art over there.
It's saying that the quality of the art. So I just kind of scanned through it. It's saying, it's saying he's heard some people say that movies are boring to them because there's not enough action, and high time preference is the problem here. You are addicted to crave a rush of sugar and food, the cheap dopamine thrill of pornography, and the freight train of explosions in the latest Michael Bay Transformers movie. At Ian.
Okay, that's fair enough, right? I mean, people should have balance in their lives where they don't need constant action scenes. But even your Michael Bay movies that are just action blow up, they're not just action blow up, monstrous stuff.
I think that there are some movies that are, and they're terrible, and Ian can sit there and watch them. And I don't understand it. That's why I never wanted to watch The Matrix, because that's what I thought it was. I thought it was like a businessman going around doing things movie. And once I actually watched it and I saw what substance is in it, I just freaking love The Matrix. It says, nurturing a taste in great art takes patience and time, but if you want to explore the highs and lows of the human condition and be inspired to be a deeper, more passionate soul, you must put in the time and work. It's kind of interesting.
That's fair advice. To number 9.
Keep a clean house. And that's something that doesn't cost money, but I would agree with this one.
Yeah, I agree with that one too. And it kind of goes back to the eating healthy and, being, grooming yourself, and it all goes together. And I firmly believe that your environment is a reflection of how you are on the inside, right? So that's people that are very depressed, typically their spaces are really messy. If your space is messy, you're going to be more anxious. I think that tends to be true.
I agree with that, all of that.
So number 10?
Don't stress about money. That's really just hard.
But you know what? For a long period, I was kind of financially struggling, and I was so obsessed with I'm broke. But once I let go of that, then money started flooding my way. So I think it's kind of like a law of attraction thing.
Okay, where the more you stress about money,
the less you're going to have. Yeah.
Really good advice, a lot of this. Some of it hit or miss, like having kids seems like a really good way to ruin your life, but to each their own. 603-283-6160. We're going to talk about this massive U.S. dragnet on the internet. 603-283-6160.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037 Lejeune. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with BullionMax.com. Buy direct from BullionMax.com without talking to a salesperson, and your precious metals shipped fully insured direct to your home. Free Talk Live can get you their silver starter kit at employee pricing. Just go to BullionMax.com/FTL. It includes 5 ounces of the most desirable silver products. This offer's limited to 1 per household, so get yours now. Go to BullionMax.com/FTL.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
Do you prefer to listen to Free Talk Live on your schedule on demand? You can find the link to our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com, which features the daily digest of our radio show 7 days a week. Just drop our RSS feed into your favorite podcast client or subscribe to us on the large platforms if you prefer, including Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, and Stitcher. All the links are at feeds.freetalklive.com. If the daily digests aren't enough for you and you really don't want to miss a moment of Free Talk Live, you can always sign up for our AMPS Patreon at amps.freetalklive.com for just $5 a month, and you'll get the full radio show without recorded commercials. Plus, you'll help us advertise, market, promote, and support Free Talk Live. That's amps.freetalklive.com to join AMPS, or feeds.freetalklive.com to get our main podcast, or find us on the major podcast platforms. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, and you can take control of the airwaves. 603-283-6160 if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And coming up, we're going to be talking about how nurses can be sued for listening to doctors. But first, the U.S. military has developed a massive... Well, they haven't even developed. I'm so used to the military developing these things that just naturally rolls off the tongue. But no, the U.S. military has purchased a mass monitoring tool that includes internet browsing and email data. It's the Augury platform, and it includes highly sensitive network data that Team Kinru, a private company, is selling to the military.
How can any company have access to all these things?
I don't know, and I thought HTTPS was supposed to have solved all of these things. That's where it's sort of like your web browser, it encrypts the data that you're sending from the end server to your computer and back so that if anyone intercepts it, it's just garbage.
I wonder if this is some sort of like fear-mongering thing.
I don't know. It's coming from Vice.com, and they tend to know, and it was just released today. So I don't know. Let's get into the article to find out the meat of it, though. Multiple branches of the U.S. military have purchased access to a powerful internet monitoring tool that claims to cover over 90% of the world's internet traffic, and which in some cases provides access to people's email data, browsing history, and other sensitive information, such as internet cookies, according to contracting data and other documents reviewed by Motherboard. Motherboard is a company owned by Vice, I think. Additionally, Senator Ron Wyden says that a whistleblower has contacted his office concerning the alleged warrantless use and purchase of this data by NCIS, which is a civilian law enforcement agency that's part of the Navy, apparently.
What?
This all sounds shady as hell. So I've heard of NCIS before. I think they made a television show about it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I thought it was just a cop division in one police department.
Evidently, they are a law enforcement agency, but they're part of the U.S. Navy for some reason. That's not alarming at all that the U.S. Navy has its own law enforcement agency, but...
Well, they have like MPs, right? Like military police on bases and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is a civilian law enforcement agency, so they're enforcing civilian law. The senator learned of this after filing a complaint through the official reporting process. Oh, good for him. With the Department of Defense. The material reveals the sale and use of a previously little-known monitoring capability that is powered by data purchases from the private sector. Ah, that makes sense. That's how they're getting it. They're buying this data from Amazon and Facebook, and they're repackaging it and selling it to the military. The tool is called Augury. It's developed by cybersecurity firm Team Kimru and bundles a massive amount of data together and makes it available to government and corporate customers as a paid service.
How does the government even have the right to view these things?
Well, we gave Facebook and Vice and Google and all of these other companies, Amazon, access the right to view this stuff when we use their websites. So this other company just buys it from Facebook and Amazon. And the government comes along and says, hey, we want this stuff, and they just sell it to the government instead. They just repackage the data that we're giving Amazon and Facebook. So that explains why it's not defeated by, HTTPS and other forms of minor encryption like that. In the private industry, cybersecurity analysts use it for following hackers' activity or attributing cyber attacks. In the government world, analysts can do the same, but agencies that deal with criminal investigations have also purchased the capability. The military agencies did not describe their use cases for the tool. However, the sale of the tool still highlights how Team Kimru obtains this controversial data and then sells it as a business, something that has alarmed multiple sources in the cybersecurity industry. And indeed, there's no way to fix this. This isn't like, you can just clear your internet cookies or whatever. This is... Our browsing habits are what the military is being sold. And sure, the military could buy this stuff directly from Amazon. There may or may not be some sort of check and balance preventing the military from doing that. I don't know. But if Amazon sells it to some other company and that company then sells it to the government, checks and balances don't matter nearly as much in that case. This network data includes stuff from over 550 collection points worldwide. It includes collection points, and I don't know, it doesn't look like it's going to tell us what it means by collection points, but I assume it's going to be companies like Amazon, Facebook, Google. These are collection points. It's updated with at least 100 billion new records every single day, says a description of the Augury platform. It adds that Augury provides access to petabytes of current and historical data. And I think a petabyte or petabyte is 1,024 terabytes.
Is that with a T or a D?
P.
No, P-E-T or P-E-D?
Oh, P-E-T, petabytes. Motherboard has found that the U.S. Navy, Army, Cyber Command, and the Defense Counterintelligence and Security Agency have collectively paid at least $3.5 million to access Augury. This allows the military to track internet usage using an incredible amount of sensitive information. Motherboard has extensively covered how U.S. agencies gain access to data. I wonder if this means they've actually supported the pardons of Julian Assange or the release of Julian Assange if they're out there doing
right?
all this stuff. And
that's
Edward
a great
Snowden.
question.
I tend to think that Motherboard probably has not supported the release of
probably not.
I feel like that'd be
Julian
big
Assange.
news. You'd hear about it more.
Motherboard has extensively covered how U.S. agencies gain access to data that in some cases would require a warrant or other legal mechanism by simply purchasing data that is available commercially from private companies, which makes sense. That's where they're getting to. The government can either give Facebook a warrant for your data, or some other company can say, hey, Facebook, I want to buy this person's user data. And Facebook says, okay, well, you paid us some money, so you can have it. The only check and balance here is that now the government has to pay money for it, but when the government limitlessly prints the amount of the money that it uses to pay for stuff, that's not a check and balance at all. So Team Kimru says on its website that its solution provides access to a supermajority of all activity on the internet. Augury is the visibility into 93% of internet traffic. That's a strong boast. So with this one tool, the U.S. military and all of these law enforcement agencies could, in theory, have access to 93% of all internet traffic.
Well, and when you think about it, even if they connect with, Facebook, Twitter, and Google, I mean, just Google alone, people use Gmail, they use Google Docs. Google, you can do pretty much anything within Google. And I'm sure most people are using that as a search engine and all of the other things. So I'm not really surprised, even if they just got together with Google. I mean, that is a lot of information.
I think the search engine component of Google is still the biggest because that's how people find stuff on the internet. That's how people find everything on the internet is by searching for it on Google. And Google records all of your data. You're probably logged in anyway, so they just tie your information to your account so they know what you're searching for. And they know which links you clicked on after you searched for it, and they're making a log of that.
That's why I don't use Google. Start Page.
I like Start Page as well because it uses Google in a way where you don't actually have to give Google any information. It uses Google for you. It does all of the dirty work, and that's really cool. There's also things like DuckDuckGo and things like that.
I use Brave search, the browser.
Brave is also good. There is more coming up here. 603-283-6160. If you want to weigh in, 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in Washington, I'm Simon Marks. US President Joe Biden is again urging the international community to condemn Russia's war on Ukraine after President Vladimir Putin ordered a partial mobilization of military reservists in Russia for the first time since the Second World War. The US President told the UN General Assembly that the Kremlin has violated the core tenets of the United Nations. From FSN's bureau at UN headquarters in New York, Will Denzelo with more.
President Joe Biden accused Vladimir Putin, the Russian president, of an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter, saying that the war is trying to extinguish the Ukrainian right to exist. He said that should make anyone's blood run cold.
Now, Russia's calling up more soldiers, and the Kremlin is organizing a sham referenda to try to annex parts of Ukraine, an extremely significant violation of the UN Charter.
He also called on nations to do more to not only support Ukraine, but also to impose costs on Russia.
Also at the UN today, Liz Truss held her first face-to-face meeting with President Biden since she became British Prime Minister. Both leaders insisted they want to take steps to protect the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, despite the UK government's threat to tear up the Northern Ireland Protocol. Also in New York today,
we are filing a lawsuit against Donald Trump for violating the law as part of his efforts to generate profits for himself, his family, and his company.
The state's Attorney General, Letitia James, saying she's suing former President Donald Trump and 3 of his adult children. She alleges they engaged in a conspiracy to overstate the value of the Trump Organization's assets in order to secure loans at favorable rates. The suit seeks to force the Trumps to pay $250 million in fines, and they would be banned from ever running businesses in New York again. The Attorney General is also making a criminal referral about the Trumps' alleged activities to the U.S. Department of Justice. Eric Trump and his brother Donald Trump Jr. dismissed the charges as a witch hunt against them and their father. 2 other headlines. For the 3rd successive month, the U.S. Federal Reserve has raised interest rates in America by 75 basis points. The Bank of England is expected to raise interest rates in the UK tomorrow. The pound fell to a fresh 37-year low against the dollar ahead of the Fed's action. And 10 detainees, including 5 Britons and 2 Americans, held by pro-Russian forces in eastern Ukraine, have been freed in a prisoner swap brokered by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. They include British national Aidan Oslin, who was facing a death sentence for fighting with Ukrainian forces. From bureaus worldwide, this is FSN.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live, 603-283-6160 if you want to join us. The number 603-283-6160. And you can also join us over on our chat server. You can find that at chat.freetalklive.com. That'll take you to our decentralized Matrix server. We used to have a Discord server, and we were at the mercy of, Discord, which doesn't necessarily like the sorts of people that we're inclined to allow, right? We're not inclined to inhibit anyone's free speech. And, we had a toxic user room there that was for people who were toxic, as you might imagine. But even that wasn't enough to please the Discord overlords. And they ultimately nuked our server. And we said, that's okay, we'll make our own server. And that's what we did. You can find it at chat.freetalklive.com. It is not a Discord server. It is a Matrix server, which means no one can shut it down. No one can tell us what we can and can't say there or what we can and can't allow there. So check that out at chat.freetalklive.com. It's really simple to join, and it does have some encryption to it, so check it out. It's really cool. That's chat.freetalklive.com. Let's go to the phones. We have Clamoring on the line from here in New Hampshire. Clamoring, you're on Free Talk Live.
Good evening, ladies.
Hello.
Hello.
What's on your mind tonight?
I wanted to talk about CPS, or in New Hampshire, DCYF is the organization.
So CPS is Child Protective Services. What is DCYF?
Oh, I'd have to look it up. It's
Okay.
It's like the
Department of Children, Youth, and Families, or something.
Yeah,
like
I think
that.
that's what it is.
Okay. But it's the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it's basically the same organization. It's by state. So until not too long ago, I was a foster parent. And a little background, I had a professional history of working with DCYF in New Hampshire, and I worked as an advocate in what they call a Child Advocacy Center, and otherwise known as a CAC. So the purpose of a CAC is to streamline a victim's process. So when a child is abused, they usually have to tell their story, which of course can be extremely difficult, especially depending on the age and the degree of the abuse.
Sure.
To some adult, and that adult reports it. And then the child has to tell it again to, like, the cops. And then they have to tell it again to social workers. And then they have to tell it again to CPS, DCYF.
Yeah, all of that sounds like a terrible idea.
Yeah, basically the child has to relive the trauma over and over again.
And the point of the Child Advocacy Center, the CAC, is so that the child only has to say it once.
Exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
It's a controlled environment. And, the interview is recorded on video. And everybody, all of the interested parties, the cops and CPS and everybody else, are in this like control room, like an operations center, and they're not in the room with the child. So the interview is recorded, and the interviewer is trained in what they call forensic interviewing techniques, and that basically means they don't ask leading questions, so that interview could potentially be court admissible.
Okay.
Anyway, getting back to my personal experience as a foster parent, I was accused by my last foster teen for doing something wrong. Mind you, although this allegation is, of course, completely false, that doesn't even really matter. There were no criminal charges or any evidence whatsoever, but DCYF still has to do this investigation. And
I guess that's good, and that it means they're not leaving anything uninvestigated, because we hear countless stories of foster kids or whatever being placed into homes where they're abused, and then ultimately one of them ends up dead or whatever. So I mean, it's not like that's a good solution, but it's also not the worst solution.
It's just interesting to me because I know so many kids that were in foster care and they were trying, calling out for help, help, my foster parents are abusing me, and those kids were unfortunately stuck in that situation for a very long time. But then we have this situation where it was a false allegation, and it just doesn't seem like they act across the board.
It probably varies by state and by agency as well.
And that could be it.
So tell us more about this, Clemmer.
So they requested to interview me, and I declined. I had a lawyer present who was like, "Don't answer their questions. Don't answer their questions. There are no criminal allegations." So
that's generally good advice. These are ultimately cops that you're dealing with, and in general, it's a bad idea to talk to cops.
Absolutely, and also it's this weird line between, I'm not actually being charged with anything, but I'm being accused of something, and that has other real world implications because I have my own daughter, so now they went away when I refused to answer their questions, but now they're coming back to me saying, well, now we want to interview your daughter.
And it's just messed up because of the informal way that they're doing this. It's like your rights are being removed with no due process at all. I don't know, they get to just investigate things just based on a claim, which they couldn't do outside of the family court system.
I also think it's inappropriate to pull aside a small young child and try to interrogate her, basically. I think that's very inappropriate.
And that's essentially what they want to do with your daughter, right? Is they want to interrogate her?
Yeah, one-on-one. And it's nerve-wracking, to say the least. But I guess, the point of my whole call is just, if any of your callers are thinking about fostering kids, don't. You just have to be really, really careful. And
it's so sad.
Yeah, it's sad that you have to get that out as good advice because the system is so broken that it seems to look for a way to target foster parents when there are so many kids who need them.
Absolutely, and that's why I went into it. I went into it with completely good intentions. I'm I am not one of these people who was trying to adopt a baby or anything, which is a whole other thing. Don't even get me started on that. But I was okay, if I can just provide a safe space for a child in need for a short time while their family gets whatever they need to do together to meet the state requirements, then I can be a safe space for a little while, no problem. But that just has not been my experience.
I think you can keep going.
It's just, in my opinion, the whole foster system is thinly veiled child trafficking.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard about it. And, I hate to hear this happening to you as a liberty activist here in New Hampshire. So other than not fostering, is there any advice you can give people to avoid these sorts of situations? I mean, you're not being charged criminally, and I'm curious about that. What sort of investigation they're even doing here if it's not criminal?
As far as I understand, the DCYF system is not under the same laws.
Like the people that work there, Jay Noom told me a lot of stuff about it. They don't have
came
to,
after him as well because
Yeah.
for some nonsense.
Yeah, he told me that they don't have to take any sort of oath that any, government employee has to take. So, and there's just no way to hold them accountable. There's no mechanism in place to hold any of these people accountable. If they lie, if they do anything wrong, that they won't be held accountable. They have like full immunity.
I mean, that's generally true of cops, right? I mean, they can lie to you and they're not going to get in trouble for it. Prosecutors can lie to you. They're not going to get in trouble for it. The system is designed in such a way to allow the, quote, enforcers of the law to violate the law in pursuit of finding violators of it.
Another horrible thing about DCYF is they have no sort of insurance or anything like that. So when something happens, like a kid gets placed somewhere and then they end up getting murdered and they get sued, that comes directly out of the taxpayers' pocket. And DCYF costs us millions of dollars a year in lawsuits.
So don't have foster kids. Thank you so much for the call tonight, Clamoring. It's sad that has to be your advice because the government is looking for ways to screw over foster parents. 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
Phone records, financial and location data, Prism, Tempora, X-Keyscore, Boundless Informant. Hey y'all, Scott Horton here for offnow.org. Now here's the deal. Due to the Snowden revelations, we have a great opportunity for a short period of time to get some real rollback of the national surveillance state. Now they're already trying to tire us by introducing fake reforms in the Congress. And the courts, they betrayed their sworn oaths to the Constitution and Bill of Rights again and again, and can in no way be trusted to stop the abuses for us. We've got to do it ourselves. How? We nullify it at the state level. It's still not easy, but the Off Now project of the 10th Amendment Center has gotten off to a great start. I mean it. There's real reason to be optimistic here. They've gotten their model legislation introduced all over the place, in state after state. I've lost count, more than a dozen. You're always wondering, yeah, but what can we do? Here's something important, something that can work if we do the work. Get started cutting off the NSA support in your state. Go to offnow.org.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Free speech is protected on the internet, right? Not always. Government agencies try to limit free speech and commerce on the net. Luckily, when they do, the Institute for Justice is there to defend your First Amendment right to free speech. IJ helped set the first federal precedent for internet free speech in 1999, and ever since has worked to prevent unconstitutional roadblocks in cyberspace. Visit our website today at ij.org.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live with Aria, Bonnie, and Nikki, and you are invited to take control of the airwaves. You can talk about whatever is important to you. You can weigh in on DCYF, Child Protective Services. Maybe you've had an experience with these clowns at some point in your life. 603-283-6160. And as we've been alluding to, nurses can now be sued for listening to doctors, which, I'm not a medical expert, but it seems to me, just based on how I've gone to doctors and dealt with nurses and stuff in the past, a nurse kind of is supposed to listen to the doctor, as I understood it.
So basically what nurses are doing, especially LPNs or RNs, so not like a nurse practitioner, kind of has a little bit more autonomy in their practice. In some states, they can practice without a doctor, without working under a doctor's license.
And that's a nurse practitioner? Because I know there's several, as you point out, there's several different types of nurses.
Yes, and a nurse practitioner is essentially a higher level of nurse. So they have a master's degree or a doctorate, and they just had more education, whereas RNs or LPNs have anywhere from 1 year to 4 years of training. So essentially, if you're a nurse working in a doctor's office, a hospital, a clinic, wherever, really what you're doing is carrying out doctor's orders. So when you administer medications or do any sorts of procedures or assessment, that you can't do anything without first getting an order from a doctor. So nurses aren't, they have to use their better judgment and they have to conduct their own assessments, but they can't really do anything without the initial doctor's order.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So ultimately, the doctor is the one who makes the call about what is and isn't done for a patient.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So, that's going to create problems for nurses going forward if this article or if this law that we're talking about comes to pass.
So essentially what's going on here is this is a North Carolina, and I think it was already, I think it's already gone through, but nurses in North Carolina can now be sued for following doctor's orders when they cause harm to the patient. On Friday, August 19th.
So even if the doctors, I want to be sure I understand this. Yeah. So if the doctor says, hey, do X, and the nurse does X, and the patient does harm, the nurse can now be sued and not the doctor?
I'm assuming both of them would be sued, hopefully, because it was the doctor's order. As a nurse, if I was getting an order from a doctor to administer a medication or do a procedure that I didn't feel comfortable with, if I felt that it was going to cause harm to a patient, I would call the doctor up and say, I'm not doing this. And I know a lot of nurses feel that way.
Can nurses currently get in trouble for that?
So not really. And it depends on the doctor. Like the doctor might try to give you some crap for it. Some doctors might yell at you. I've seen doctors be very demeaning to nurses. I've seen them be very rude. But I also know a lot of doctors who value nurses' opinions. I mean, we're right there with the patient. Bedside nurses spend so much more time with patients than doctors, where a doctor might come in and do a 15 to 30 minute assessment. Nurses are constantly there. So a lot of doctors do value nurses' opinions because they are right there. They have eyes on the patient where a doctor doesn't.
Would you say most doctors are that way?
It's hard to say because I only have so much experience, but I would tend to say yes.
Now, do doctors, are they, it seems like they could avoid this sort of situation by just sort of asking the nurses for their general input on things.
And typically they do. So kind of how it works is nurses will call doctors to tell them their assessment or give them updates on patients. And, it's different in every form of healthcare setting. So it's going to be different in a hospital than a clinic. But typically, there are standing orders that doctors have already given. So nurses can kind of just come on shift and already have orders in place. But if a patient gets admitted or if their status changes, they would already be calling the doctor. And essentially how it goes is, hey, this is how the patient's doing. This is what we're already doing for them. This is my recommendation as the nurse. Sometimes doctors will be like, yep, cool, let's do it. Or sometimes doctors would be like, well, I disagree with you and this is what I'd like to do instead. And then at that point, if the nurse feels uncomfortable with those orders, they would either tell the doctor that or they would go to the person above the doctor. Where it gets a little muddy is if it's like night shift and...
Who's the person above the doctor?
It depends on the setting. So either the doctor's supervisor or like the...
And they're doctors too, right?
Typically they would be doctors as well. So there would be like a hospitalist or, like whoever is in charge, like oversees all of the doctors.
Okay.
And
so
then
you
at
mentioned
that
this
point,
could get murky, especially on night shift where there is presumably no one else to oversee the doctor.
I mean, I'm sure they could call somebody. Like I've never really been in this situation before personally. But yeah, there's no administration there. There's not really any management there. So it'd be hard to get in contact with somebody. But I'm sure most nurses, if they felt really uncomfortable with something, like this is going to kill somebody, they just wouldn't do it. Even if the doctor was very insistent on them doing it, they just wouldn't do it.
Okay.
Some nurses might not care.
It out the next day, presumably.
Yeah.
Okay. So how is all of this changing in North Carolina? Because it sounds like that's not a good system. I would rather doctors spend more time with their patients directly, and that's what I get with the doctor that I visit here in here in Keene. But that's not the medical industry model.
Well, and it's different with like your primary care. So if you're going into a doctor's office, you're gonna probably spend more time with the doctor than the nurse, because the nurse is kind of just either maybe administering an injection or doing vital signs in an initial assessment. But the doctors that you're seeing at your doctor's office or your primary care, they're going to spend a little bit more time with individuals.
Which is sad because it's still not a whole lot of time.
No, it's like 15 minutes.
Yeah, at the most. After you spend an hour and a half waiting in the lobby, then they take you to a different room for you to wait for another half hour to an hour. Yeah. And then finally you see the doctor and they're with you for 10, 15 minutes.
Exactly.
If you're lucky.
And in a hospital setting, there's just so many more patients at once that, and I don't know what the laws are, like how many patients a doctor can legally oversee at once. I don't know if there is a limit, but it would.
It seems like there would be. If there's a limit to the number of cases that attorneys can have, it seems like there would be a limit to the number of cases a doctor can have.
I'm sure there is. I'm just not, familiar with a specific number or law, but.
It was standard reason. It was standard reason that there is such a limit. So tell us about this North Carolina law.
Sure. So this passed August 19th of 2020. A narrowly split North Carolina Supreme Court struck down a 90-year-old precedent that protected nurses from liability. The opinion of the 3 justices in favor of overturning the ruling stated that because nursing had evolved, the decision was necessary. So the 2 dissenting justices countered that holding nurses accountable for physicians' decisions would create liability without causation. How the latest ruling would affect future cases is unclear. The full legal briefing can be found, it links to another website. This post explains why the judges made the determination, what the ruling means for nurses, and how nurses can protect themselves. So here are some of the facts from the case. On October 11th of 2010, a 3-year-old girl was admitted to Carolina's Medical Center facility for a scheduled, I don't know what that is, some scheduled procedure. Her anesthesia team administered a medication via mask. Shortly after induction, the little girl went into a sudden cardiac arrest. So 13.
Okay, so they gave her anesthesia and she went into cardiac arrest. Okay, that's not good.
I'm just not really sure what this has to do with nurses because anesthesiologists are doctors.
Can nurses ever do that, or like
if you're
never?
if you're a CRNA, which is again a nurse that either has a master's degree or a doctorate in nursing. So they're kind of on the same level as a nurse practitioner, except CRNAs only do anesthesia. So they can kind of do most of what an anesthesiologist does.
So what else happened with this case? So the girl went into cardiac arrest, then what happened? Does it say?
So after 13 minutes, the doctor revived the child with CPR and resuscitation drugs. In the end, the little girl suffered from permanent anoxic brain damage, cerebral palsy, and profound developmental delay. And her mother sued the hospital, the doctor, and the CRNA.
So it was a CRNA. Okay,
yeah.
Good call. 603-283-6160. We're going to talk about how this story wraps up and what happened to this little girl and who got sued and who should be liable for this, because it sounds like a fault of many different people. 603-283-6160.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. That's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has demanded that Russia be punished for its invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky addressed the United Nations General Assembly in New York via a pre-recorded video message.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine, and we demand just punishment. The crime was committed against our state borders. The crime was committed against the lives of our people.
FSN's William Denzelo is outside the UN headquarters with more on the Ukrainian president's address.
Volodymyr Zelensky laid out a 5-point plan. Now, just to go through them briefly, he called for a punishing Russian aggression. He called for the protection of life, restoring security and territorial integrity. He called for security guarantees as well as the determination to defend oneself. Now, a key tenet of his speech was that of solidarity behind the Ukrainian cause. Now, he said to the international community that Russia can't stop the course of history and that mankind is stronger than a terrorist state.
Earlier in the day, U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the UN and said the war in Ukraine is purely the result of actions taken by one man, Vladimir Putin. Responding to the Russian president's decision to call up reservists to fight in Ukraine, which has resulted in protests across Russia, Biden urged the international community to unite and condemn Moscow's war.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state, plain and simple.
FSN's Simon Marks has more on the reaction from Washington.
The White House knows that this partial mobilization of reservists by the Russians indicates an intention to dig in, to keep fighting, not to back down in Ukraine in any way. And that may require fresh sanctions against Moscow, fresh shipments of military equipment to Ukraine, and fresh outreach to some of those Russians who have been taking to the streets and protesting in cities all over the country over the last few hours.
And Wall Street reacted negatively to the Federal Reserve's latest aggressive interest rate rise. The U.S. Central Bank raised rates by a further 75 basis points in a bid to cool inflation, which continues to run near 40-year highs. FSN's U.S. correspondent Nick Harper reports.
The rate rise was expected, but US markets still fell on the news, dropping dramatically in the minutes after Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced the decision that he was taking US rates to their highest level in almost 15 years. Powell also warned that further rate rises are on the cards in the coming months. The Dow fell 1.7%, as did the S&P, while the Nasdaq dropped 1.8%.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks, looking in more detail today at the furious reaction in Iran to news that a 22-year-old woman arrested last week by the country's morality police died in custody of apparent injuries received during her detention. Mahsa Amini was taken into custody last Tuesday after being accused of failing to wear her hijab and trousers in accordance with the country's Islamic laws. Police say her death was unfortunate and blamed it on a heart ailment. The family says she fell into a coma last Friday after suffering violence at the hands of police. Golnaz Efendiari is a senior correspondent covering Iran for Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty.
In past months, since Ebrahim Raisi became the president of Iran, he's a hardliner, they have intensified their harassment of women. And there's been more of these morality patrols in the streets of Tehran and other cities. They usually stand outside of big shopping centers or near the metro, and they stop women and they warn them. And in some cases, they take them to the police station to educate them.
And indeed, it was at a so-called re-education centre that the 22-year-old died, sparking days of protests in Iran that have themselves been met with a deadly response by the country's security forces. With FSN Spotlight, I'm Simon Marks.
The main news again. Speaking at the United Nations General Assembly, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky demands that Russia be punished for its invasion of Ukraine. In response to Russia's decision to call up reservists to fight in Ukraine, Joe Biden urges the international community to unite and condemn Moscow's war. And Wall Street reacts negatively to the Federal Reserve's latest aggressive interest rate rise. That is the latest feature story news. Ira Spitz.
This week, badly shaken researchers reported observing an osprey stalking, killing, and devouring an adult male lion in what is being called a massive food chain shakeup. Confirmation of the 3-pound marine bird consuming the 400-pound feline has biologists scrambling to determine the new predator-prey connections between the planet's billions of organisms.
We seem to be experiencing some sort of cross-species dietary free-for-all.
Scientists say that the killing of the healthy, full-grown lion by a typical osprey specimen has lent credibility to recent reports of a deer seen grazing on a nest of squirrels in Wisconsin, as well as a claim made by a group of Japanese fishermen who say they witnessed 300 million krill devouring a 40-ton humpback whale. In other news, NASA acquires the moon for an upcoming Kennedy Space Center exhibit. A radio DJ invites the whole town to some bullshit, and assuming the many universes theory of quantum mechanics is accurate, the review you've just seen will remain relevant in another reality for all eternity. For more, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, where you're invited to take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever is important to you. 603-283-6160 if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. With you tonight, it's Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And coming up, a federal judge has blocked limits that a state attempted to put on filming police, which these First Amendment auditors, as they call themselves, I think that's what they all call themselves. A lot of them call themselves that. They go out and they film police and they film public servants, like people working at post office, well, probably not post offices, but city hall and things like that. And they just see how they react to being filmed. And a lot of these people call the police, who then end up being audited by these people to see how the police react to being filmed. And I've watched a lot of these videos over the years on YouTube, and it's hit or miss. Some cops are used to it. Like here in Keene, they don't think anything about it because of the years of activists filming them here. They don't even notice it. However, if you were to try this in like Santa Fe, New Mexico, or Albuquerque, New Mexico, I'm picking on New Mexico at the moment because we have a lot of callers from there that talk about how corrupt it is, but just a lot of cities throughout the United States, you'd get a very different response.
You know what I was thinking about recently is the worst thing cops do when that happens, when they're being filmed, when they say back to you, "Oh yeah, I'm filming you too." It's like, well, thank you for filming your actions. You know, they think that that's an own, and it's so funny.
That's usually what First Amendment auditors end up saying is, "I appreciate you filming this for my safety," or something to that effect. It's like, because, I mean, they kind of are. They may not mean it that way.
Yep.
But right now we're talking about nurses and the nursing industry and the interplay there between doctors and nurses. But let's first go to the phone. I thought I had my thing here. I don't. We have, no, I have to find it. I wrote it down. We have Bernie on the line from New Jersey. Bonnie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, what's on your mind tonight?
Oh, not much. I love the show and what you guys do.
Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. I don't know if it's related, but since I started listening to you guys, believe it or not, I met a great girl. I found a job I like, and I actually started the process to buy a home. It's crazy, I know, but
it's my relationship advice. That's why you found a girlfriend.
I would like Free Talk Live to be able to take credit for these things, but it sounds like you made some positive changes to your life, and you know that's on you. You deserve credit for that. So good job.
Yeah, thank you. Anyways, I lost it all on Bitcoin investments, so now I have nothing. Cheers.
Well, you only lost it all because you sold it. I know you don't want to hear that, but if you didn't sell, then you hadn't lost anything yet.
Yeah, it's still early.
Are you still with us? I think we may have actually lost him, regrettably, which that's a terrible way to end a call,
I
man.
know, right?
You lost out on Bitcoin. Sorry. I'm sorry to hear that, dude.
Sounds like mostly it's going good for him, though.
Yeah, I mean, it does. Still, I think my point stands that, you know, even if you bought it at $68,000 or whatever it was when it was at its peak, you haven't lost anything until you sell it.
Yep.
And at that point, you lost everything. But until then, your investment's not in a particularly good spot. So, and it sucks, dude. I wish it had gone better for you, but, you know, hold a little bit. That means to hold your Bitcoin just a little bit longer and things might have been fine. But let's keep going. We have Sarah on the line from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live.
Oh, yes. So our Attorney General, we're actually going to have a human trafficking convention here in New Mexico.
What, is this like a pimp convention, a pimp con?
I have a feeling that's just not what it's actually called, and Sarah's just calling it that.
Well,
what was that thing called in South Park? Because South Park did this, right? When Butters became a pimp, there was a pimp convention. What was that called?
I don't remember.
I will research this for you. One moment.
Is that what you mean, Sarah? You're going to get like a bunch of pimps and, you know, what is it? What is a human trafficking convention?
Well, this is the first time I heard about them doing this. It's put on by our Attorney General, Hector Valdez. So he's part. Is that what the Attorney Generals do? Is to
no, they arrest people.
Scams. I guess pimps are kind of like a scam.
Why? There's nothing scammy about being a pimp in and of itself.
Well, I guess it depends. Like, it could be scammy if they're just taking all of the girls' money, but if they are providing the legitimate service of protection, which is kind of the point of a pimp, right? Then I guess it could be worth it.
Well, it says here, AG Balderas kicks off 6th annual human trafficking conference.
So this isn't the first one at all, and it's not a convention; it's a conference.
Yeah, I knew there was another word she was.
Oh, this is the number 6. This is the 6th one. I'm really amazed. This is the only time that I really paid attention because I'm bringing this up because New Mexico is a shock because New Mexico is like practically the human trafficking state. Like those,
it's definitely the idiot state. Keep going, Sarah.
Well, I mean, but it's abusing women here, mistreatment of women. The laws do not protect women, and a lot of these victims got murdered and dug up. And like I was saying, they want to build a park and put a memorial with a rock with their names on it, but they're really not. They're really not solving this problem like what they're doing now.
What do you think the problem is,
What
Sarah?
they're doing now is just creating a task force, and I doubt that it's going to do anything good for anyone. This is just a group of law enforcement and just bureaucrats from New Mexico and Mexico, actually, it says, who are going to get together and talk, and I just have a feeling that they're not going to accomplish anything and waste a lot of the taxpayers' money.
No, Sarah, if you want to end violence against sex workers, the best way to do it is to legalize sex work. That's been shown time and time again throughout the world, and it happens, I think, in King County in Nevada, where sex work is legalized, and you don't see these sorts of things happening there.
Well, I mean, it really, the Nevada state and your state, New Hampshire, I mean, you said that they're legal. Is that what you said?
No, not here.
Well, New Hampshire, it's legal, but you have to film it.
I don't know. So in other words, pornographic things, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I mean, it's a loophole to the prostitution law where you can offer someone money to partake in a pornographic film, at least here in New Hampshire. As I understand it, that's not legal advice, but that's what I understand the law says. And I think in certain parts of Nevada, I think in the whole state, I'm not entirely sure, except for the one county. I don't know. I'm not an expert. I don't care. I think prostitution is legal there. And you don't have, and there are counties, I mean, there are countries around the world where prostitution is legal, and in those places, you don't see sex trafficking.
Isn't that Nevada is where they have the Las Vegas, the casinos, isn't that right? It's that state, right?
Yeah, but that's Clark County.
Well, you know what? They had stories written up with pimps loitering around looking for girls at the casino. They were written up, and they're big pimp time over there.
I don't know what the hell you even just said.
They were big pimp time over there.
Okay, fine. But there was still no sex trafficking. There was still no women being kidnapped or, turned onto drugs so that they could be sold as sex slaves to people. That only happens in places where prostitution is illegal, because if it's legal, a paying customer who can leave you a review online or something like that isn't going to go to that sort of business. They're certainly not going to be one of.
But you tell me the prostitution is completely legal in the state of Nevada, why is that? They got a lot of pimp problems there too.
It's not legal in the entire state of Nevada. I don't know all of the specifics, but I know it's not legal in Las Vegas. It's not legal in the county that Las Vegas is in.
I think it's northern, like close to Reno.
I think so, and I think it's one of the counties neighboring the county that contains Las Vegas. I think you said it was Clark County. I don't remember, but I think one of the counties neighboring Las Vegas has legalized prostitution. I don't know, because when I was there, it wasn't to get prostitutes, so I didn't spend any time looking into whether or not I could legally acquire a prostitute. Thank you so much for the call tonight, Sarah. 603-283-6160. If you want to weigh in, you can share your thoughts about whatever. That's 603-283-6160. It is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com. There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can help spread the ideas of liberty with our Patreon for just $5 per month at amps.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. And I want to say thank you to Jack. That is Tonight's Amplifier. This means that Jack is a member of the AMPS program. You can find it at amps.freetalklive.com. It stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. So if you value the ideas of liberty, you want to help us reach a larger audience, all of that great stuff, the AMPS program is the best way to do it. It only takes $5 per month. That's what Jack here is doing, and that gets you in. It gets you a fuller version of the podcast. Right now, you get the digest version of the podcast for free. If you want the full version, it's at the Amps archive. That's amps.freetalklive.com. Jax, thank you so much. And, it does come with a number of other perks, like there's an AMP-only Facebook group and an AMP-only Matrix server and some other cool stuff like that. But if you join, it should really be because you value the ideas of liberty, you value Free Talk Live, and you want to help us reach a larger audience. And the AMPS program is absolutely the best way to do that. So, Jack, thank you so much for your contributions. Let's keep going with the phones. However, we have Major Payne on the line from Michigan. Major Payne, you're on Free Talk Live. Are you with us? It looks like we don't have you. That's unfortunate. Because, he called back and everything. So, sorry about that, Major Payne. We also have Rob on the line from Massachusetts. Rob, you're on Free Talk Live. I'm hitting the wrong button. That's why. Rob, yeah, you're on Free Talk Live. I think Major Payne just called back, though. So, I'm almost positive that's him. So, I'm making a note of that. Yeah, what's your mind tonight, Rob?
First off, love the show. I was actually hoping to fly out someday to New Hampshire to hang out with some like-minded people. I probably can't afford the plane ticket, though, now that I lost all my money investing in crypto.
Aren't you in Massachusetts? Why would you need to fly here?
That's a really good point. Was that the same guy?
No, I think that this is like some kind of attempted troll where
I thought he was trying to make a joke or something.
Yeah,
I think you're
really
right, because
bad.
this is the second person in a row that's attempted to do that thing. That's so terrible. And
so bad.
And that's all they say, and then
funny.
they hang up.
Troll better, please.
Yeah, so okay.
At least make it funny or good in some way.
I don't know what that was. I'm just perplexed by that entire thing.
Like making yourself look completely not inadequate, but inept. Like, oh well, I bought Bitcoin, then it went down in value, and I sold it, and like I'm owning you guys because you guys didn't do that with your Bitcoin. Like I just don't get it.
Yeah, I don't either, man. To each their own. If that's what you got to do in your spare time, you do you, man. So I was going to flip over to line 2, but now I've got all 4 lines lit up, and I suspect that line 2 is Major Payne, but if not, I don't really want to deal with it at the moment. So just hang tight, Major Payne. If one of those is you, and I'll deal with it at the break. Anyway, we're talking about nursing here, and before people lost all of their money in Bitcoin by making silly decisions. See, the first guy I felt bad about.
Yeah, right. Me too.
I was like, man, that sucks. This is not the first time I've heard this story, right? Of someone making a poor decision, investing all of their money into something, which, first of all, you shouldn't view cryptocurrency, especially Bitcoin, as an investment.
And also, it's typically a bad idea. Again, not financial advice. But it's typically a bad idea to sell something for less than you bought it for.
Yeah.
Rule of thumb, just don't do that.
But, there is something to be said for cutting their losses. And I had to do that with Bitcoin Gold.
It's panic selling.
Well, it's not necessarily panic selling. It can be, but like with Bitcoin Gold, we watched it plummet from like $200 per down to like $100 per and then down to $30 per. And I don't even know what it's at per now. It's probably in the single dollar range. And I'm glad I sold it when I did because I knew, I didn't know, but I had no reason to believe that it was going to ever recover. It had nothing to offer beyond being ASIC resistant, and that just wasn't good enough in the current market.
Why is ASIC resistant good? Isn't that something that makes mining better?
ASIC resistant means that anyone can mine it, in theory, using a GPU, a graphics card, instead of having to buy a specialized piece of hardware that's an ASIC, and I don't remember exactly what ASIC stands for, but it's a specialized device that only mines a cryptocurrency.
And it's like expensive?
I think they're expensive. They're very energy intensive, and they're very expensive to run versus, most gaming enthusiasts and most computer enthusiasts, they have a computer with a graphics card in it, and they can't just, mine Monero or a Ravencoin or whatever. Ravencoin was the one that I preferred to mine back in the day because it was easy. It was an X16R token, which means they're supposed to be CPU mineable. They're ASIC resistant as well. And this all gets into some complicated terms. They don't really have any place on the radio. But
yeah, sorry, I was just interested in that.
No, it's all good. No, I was the one who went on for too long. But Bruce Fenton, who was running for Senate here in New Hampshire, is actually the founder of Ravencoin. And I didn't know that when I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Good for you,
when
Bruce.
I was, mining Ravencoin and all of that, I happened here in New Hampshire, I happened to be, inadvertently supporting a libertarian here in New Hampshire.
Sweet.
I can't really pretend to be surprised by that in hindsight, but there are ways of mining cryptocurrency that don't require ASICs in the first place, and that was Bitcoin Gold's one big thing that made it different. It was Bitcoin, but it was supposed to be ASIC resistant, and as it turns out, it was just garbage. And a lot of people lost money with it, and that sucks because at the time, I was doing a show called Call to Freedom, and one of our sponsors was this place called Helium, which was related with, they were connected with Uphold or whatever, and what they did was they would use some sort of algorithm to determine whether you should have your money in a Bitcoin or USD or Litecoin or Ethereum or Bitcoin Gold or whatever. And it would put your money into those, and it would wait till you had earned enough money, and that would sell out and get you back into USD. And then it would find out, hey, this currency's down, or Bitcoin Cash is down, so let's buy some of that. And then it goes up and you earn another, 1% or whatever, and it sells it back. That was the plan. But because of an issue in the algorithm and the fact that no one thought to check that this could happen, Bitcoin Gold went down. So the algorithm said, hey, guys, buy Bitcoin Gold. So it bought a bunch of Bitcoin Gold for people.
Wait, did you say you were involved in this algorithm thing, or just you heard about this?
No, we were promoting the company that created it, though.
Yikes.
Yeah, not great. I think by that point we had stopped. We had but we had at one point promoted them. And Bitcoin Gold went down further. So the algorithm did the same thing, and it put more money into Bitcoin Gold and more money into. I think I had $100 in it altogether, and at the end of it, all $100 ended up in Bitcoin Gold, and by the end of it, it was like $12.
Oh no!
I only put $100 in the rest. Someone could have put, all of their life savings. That would have been stupid.
Yeah.
This is a financial advice, but you never want to put your life savings into one thing.
Yeah, don't invest more than you can afford to lose.
I just can't imagine being like, I could spend time trading myself, but instead of putting in like the work, not that I think trading is like a good idea. I mean, I think other people should do that. I would never do it, but like day trading throughout the day to make more money. But I just would never be like, let me put that decision making in the hands of a robot, like with all my money at least.
I mean,
it sounds terrifying, but that's like a low risk thing with me. So I mean, that you could also gain a lot from it maybe, but
before that, I did the day trading thing to some extent because I noticed that, sometimes the ratio between Ethereum and Litecoin, if you could game it correctly, you could slowly game Litecoin and Ethereum by, measuring the ratios correctly, but that was so freaking stressful. And then you had to wait on like transaction times and stuff like that. And with Helium and Uphold, you didn't have to do that. And, the algorithm did it for you, so you didn't have to stress about it. 603-283-6160. There's more coming up. It is Free Talk Live.
Did you or someone you love work, live, or serve at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988? If you or someone you know lived, served, or worked at Camp Lejeune between 1953 and 1988 and has cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, they are entitled to compensation. To see if they are eligible, they need to call Liberty Legal. Contaminants in the drinking water have led to these serious diseases, and legislation is now available for veterans and family members who may qualify for financial help from the government. There may be a time deadline, so don't wait. Call 888-918-1037. Anyone that has lived, worked, or served at Camp Lejeune from 1953 to 1988 and has had cancer, Parkinson's disease, or another serious health issue, the money is already set aside. 888-918-1037. 888-918-1037.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has demanded that Russia be punished for its invasion of Ukraine. Zelensky addressed the United Nations General Assembly in New York via a pre-recorded video message.
A crime has been committed against Ukraine, and we demand just punishment. The crime was committed against our state borders. The crime was committed against the lives of our people.
FSN's William Denzelo is outside the UN headquarters with more on the Ukrainian president's address.
Volodymyr Zelensky laid out a 5-point plan. Now, just to go through them briefly, he called for a punishing Russian aggression. He called for the protection of life, restoring security and territorial integrity. He called for security guarantees as well as the determination to defend oneself. Now, a key tenet of his speech was that of solidarity behind the Ukrainian cause. Now, he said to the international community that Russia can't stop the course of history and that mankind is stronger than a terrorist state.
Earlier in the day, U.S. President Joe Biden addressed the UN and said the war in Ukraine is purely the result of actions taken by one man, Vladimir Putin. Responding to the Russian president's decision to call up reservists to fight in Ukraine, which has resulted in protests across Russia, Biden urged the international community to unite and condemn Moscow's war.
This war is about extinguishing Ukraine's right to exist as a state. Plain and simple.
FSN's Simon Marks has more on the reaction from Washington.
The White House knows that this partial mobilization of reservists by the Russians indicates an intention to dig in, to keep fighting, not to back down in Ukraine in any way, and that may require fresh sanctions against Moscow, fresh shipments of military equipment to Ukraine, and fresh outreach to some of those Russians who have been taking to the streets and protesting in cities all over the country over the last few hours.
And Wall Street reacted negatively to the Federal Reserve's latest aggressive interest rate rise. The U.S. Central Bank raised rates by a further 75 basis points in a bid to cool inflation, which continues to run near 40-year highs. FSN's U.S. correspondent Nick Harper reports.
The rate rise was expected, but US markets still fell on the news, dropping dramatically in the minutes after Fed Chair Jerome Powell announced the decision that he was taking US rates to their highest level in almost 15 years. Powell also warned that further rate rises are on the cards in the coming months. The Dow fell 1.7%, as did the S&P, while the Nasdaq dropped 1.8%.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, where you are invited to take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever you want. Talk about whatever is important to you. 603-283-6160. The keyword there is talk about what's important to you. If you just want to say like a one-liner that's kind of stupid and then not say anything else, I mean, in general, you're welcome to do that, I guess, if that's what you want to do. It's one call per night, though. So,
but we're allowed to judge you for having nothing else better to do with your life.
That is true. You are opening yourself up for judgment. But, you know, in general, we want to have conversations with interesting people. And to do that, we have to be able to carry on a dialogue with us. And that doesn't always happen. But with you tonight, it is Aria.
It's Bonnie.
And Nikki.
And again, 603-283-6160. That's the number if you want to do that. That's 603-283-6160. I'm going to hit the correct button this time. Major Payne, you're with us here on Free Talk Live.
Damn, I didn't know I was walking into a Girl Scout camp. I thought Ian was there anyway.
Ian is here. He's hanging out. He's doing some work.
It is Wednesday, man.
Is she Talk Live?
I'm surrounded and outnumbered.
Well, I thought that the major was a lady anyway.
Why did you think that?
So,
it's lyrics.
Oh God, I got many things to tell you. And I'm going to save the best for last. I'm going to give you a website that will lead you to information about Hunter Biden and the Wuhan lab and the virus and all this, but I got a couple quickies just to give you first.
Right.
Sarah called in and she was having, you guys have too much fun with her. She's just so damn stupid.
She is stupid, man. I mean, she's not unintelligent, to be fair. She's smart, but she's also stupid.
She's
I say this
ignorant.
No. She thinks, but she doesn't realize. She just never comes.
That's a good way to put it.
That is a good way to put it. She reminds me so much of my dog, my golden retriever, man. She's so smart, right, in so many ways, but she's also so stupid.
Yeah, when only one ear goes up, it just ain't right.
Yep. So what else was on your mind tonight?
Well, she was talking about all the prostitution and whatnot, and you guys were talking about Clark County, right outside of Vegas there. And I believe that is the birthplace of the Mustang Ranch. And if I recollect correctly, they have been fighting for the right to sell their wares since somewhere in the mid-'70s. Mustang Ranch is damn famous.
Okay.
Yeah, Arya said that it's King County. I don't know why I know that Clark County is Las Vegas.
I think King County is the last county in New Mexico before you get, or Arizona. I think it's Arizona. My geography is kind of screwed up in my head now, but I think King County is the county that you leave to get into Nevada. I think it's in Arizona.
Well,
yeah, I think that's right.
I don't think that it's Clark County because Clark County is Las Vegas.
I don't have Google Maps, so I cannot confirm, deny, or dismay.
Yeah, it's not super important anyway. Or maybe the town has a King in it or something. I don't remember now. I just remember King and Las Vegas. I only lived there briefly, and I didn't get out a whole lot beyond trying to find a job and things like that. So I wasn't worried about what the next county over is. And I've lived in New Hampshire here for like 4 years, and you want to ask me what the next county over is? I'm really not sure, dude. I know that.
I got an interesting tidbit. The county I was born in here in Michigan legalized prostitution just here 3 years ago.
Oh, cool.
I moved away from there like 30 years ago. It's your buddy of mine that I called just informed me of that.
Okay,
cool.
So I found out that it's legal in Nevada in Churchill County, Elko County, but only incorporated in Elko, which is a town, Carlin, and Wendover, and Wells. I didn't know that about Wendover. Wendover is the closest town in Nevada to where I lived in Utah, and I went there for like casinos and stuff.
Learn something new every day. So you mentioned something about Hunter Biden earlier. So what's the deal with Hunter Biden? What's going on there?
Well, evidently, I was listening to the Joe Pag show earlier, and he's pretty good at confirming his sources, and he has a reliable guest. So I'm just going to give you a website to inform you of things that I can't give you 30 minutes, and you ain't going to give me 30 minutes. So I'm going to give you the website to confirm what I would tell you.
Yeah, what is it?
Renslaw.com.
Can you repeat that?
RENZ. It could possibly be an S. They did not spell it out for me.
Renslaw.
LAW.com.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for that tonight, Major. I will certainly check that out, and give us a call next week. I'll be back Monday. You can check with us about it then, and I'll let you know what I think about it. So thank you so much for that. We also have Jamie on the line from Alabama. Jamie, you're on Free Talk Live.
Hey, I heard if you play rock and roll music backwards, you get satanic messages.
I have heard of that, yes.
It's not just rock and roll. Like, there's other genres, too. Me and my sister found out about this in, 8th grade, and that's how I found thevigilantcitizen.com, because we found out that there's... we were searching it for songs that we like Lady Gaga, and that's how we found all of his articles about occult symbolism in Lady Gaga's music videos.
The one that I knew that this rumor originated with was Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, which if you play backwards, it's supposed to have a satanic message.
So I've done this.
I have to. I don't hear it. But
I don't hear it either.
I've only watched the YouTube videos.
But, I like what Bill Hicks had to say about this. If you sit around listening to music backwards in order to find the devil, dude, you already found him. You are the devil.
Oh.
Really?
Yeah, well, yeah, because that's not a thing in normal. Who sits there going, man, this is a great song. I bet it's evil if I play it backwards. Well, of course it is. You're not supposed to play it backwards.
I like the way that the Beatles have some backwards sounding music in their songs, and also Missy Elliott. I like the way it sounds. It's really cool.
There are bands who do this on purpose. Stevie Wonder did it in one of his songs, where if you play it backwards, he's telling someone to go F themselves. But it's very clever, and if you play it forwards, you don't hear it, right?
Eminem does that too, and I don't remember what song or what it was. But there's something where if you play it one way, it says a thing. If you play it backwards, it says another thing. I don't remember what it was now.
It takes a lot of creativity and a lot of genius to do something like that on purpose. And the example that I always heard when I was looking into this and researching was like New Moon. If you play that backwards, it basically sounds like New Moon. So if you slant it a certain way, you can still say New Moon backwards and forwards and have it sound exactly the same.
Or race car. Well, I think that's just spelling.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was a spelling.
I also found out that if you play kids songs from old TV shows like Doria and all that, you hear satanic stuff backwards. You hear satanic messages when you play it backwards.
The thing about it was, like, when me and my sister were in 8th grade and had nothing to do and we're sitting around, it's a thing to look up on YouTube and be like, oh my God, this is so scary. Oh my God, like, we're getting, you know, like, just like the fun being scared thing without it being, like, way too scary.
Who was that dude who was like, Power Rangers are the devil?
Wait,
Oh, I don't know. But you know what? I think this is a case of people hearing or seeing what they want to. So if a parent was like, I don't like Led Zeppelin, you know, I've heard rumors about Jimmy Page selling his soul to the devil. And, you know, if they already have that preconceived notion that Led Zeppelin is satanic, they're gonna, if they play the thing backwards, they're gonna be like, see, that is devil messages. I think people are just hearing what they already, you know,
And that's
they
like-
already have their ears open for that sort of message.
And that's like on Ghost Adventures. Like, I really like that show. It's fun and everything. But whenever they play their audio recordings and they're like, we caught this, it totally said, Zach Bagans, I'm going to kill you. It'll just sound like, and like
it's like, sure, bro.
Thank you so much for the call tonight, Jamie. I'm going to look up that guy because someone did. They decided that He-Man and all of these other action figures of the early 90s, they were systematically designed to do two things. First, turn all the kids into unknowing devil worshippers. And two, to make them all gay.
Wow.
And
well, it worked.
And he wrote not just one, but several books about this. And I've got to find the guy now because I'd forgotten he even existed. And the books are just as completely crazy as you would expect.
There's whole books about this.
And now I have to order them just to add them to. I buy weird, stupid books, right? I collect weird, stupid books, don't I? 603-283-6160.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Have you had enough of the big-name web hosting services that are long on promises but short on bleeding-edge features, uptime, and customer service? Try Agorist Hosting, the agile web host that offers full concierge service from website redesign, full e-commerce solutions, custom apps for your Shopify store, IPFS integration, and more. Agorist Hosting is ready to take your web presence into the future. To get started, head over to agoristhosting.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
When you're coping with bad news and the news media come calling, and they will, don't clam up. As notorious political figures find out the hard way, the cover-up can be worse than the crime. So get out in front of unfavorable news about your company, your group, or organization, or yourself. The sooner you confront a negative story, the sooner it will be over. Responding as quickly to negative stories as you do to positive ones enhances your credibility credibility. Hiding embarrassing information or lying will do more damage than damage control. Never stonewall. Tell your side of the story, use specifics, and detail what corrective action has already been taken. Respond in kind. If the issue is emotional, don't sound like a cold, unemotional Mr. Spock. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It is Free Talk Live. You can join us online in the meantime at social.freetalklive.com. That's our social media network where we don't have to worry about big tech companies censoring us, telling us what we can and can't say. And neither do you. You can talk about whatever you want and not worry about getting censored, including trying to save the world from the evil toys like He-Man and Power Rangers and stuff like that. We were just talking with Jamie from Alabama who reminded me about the existence of this guy. I did find him. He's named Phil Phillips, which, I mean, if you name your kids Phil Phillips...
What do you expect?
Yeah, you're destining them to end up writing books with titles like Turmoil in the Toy Box, which he wrote several books on this subject. He wrote 9 different books. At the time of the article that I'm looking at, he wrote 9 different books about how He-Man and Power Rangers were corrupting people, making them satanic, and turning them gay.
How is...
he never provided a single example of any of this happening, right? Because, of course, he's just one of these ultra-Christians, right? In one example, he used the example of the Power Rangers as if they worked together to achieve a goal, then that taught children that they didn't have to rely on God, and therefore it was satanic. That was the sort of...
teamwork.
There's like
makes you
congregations
satanic?
and stuff. In fact, like in Acts and the ones after that, what's his name? Paul. He tells the churches how to better work together and to, do their church things together as a congregation and stuff like that. So
here's a quote from the book. Mighty Morphin Power Rangers and VR Troopers are characters that exhibit lust for power. When they are strong, their enemies become stronger, requiring that they become even stronger. What signals does this type of program send to a child? It sends the signal to a child that his power will increase as the result of what he does.
Yeah.
What?
Durr.
And that's a bad thing, right?
That's just like teaching kids
look, I'm not the crazy lunatic who wrote 9 books about this.
You can't try to rationalize this.
He also, here's a quote about Power Lords, which is something I've never heard of. The name of this toy line causes concern. The name implies that these figures are equal in power to God.
Does it?
In the Word, God tells us that He is the only Lord. On the other hand, these characters are called Power Lords, making them equal to God. This is blasphemous.
Yeah, and the monarchy also calls people lords.
This dude wrote 9 books about this nonsense.
Wow.
So yeah, I didn't order them during the segment during the break because I spent so long looking this up. I'm going to order one of these books because it's unhinged nonsense like that through the entire thing. Jack, I'm glad you're not Sarah from Free Talk Live. I mean, Sarah from New Mexico, because I had you ready. Speaking of unhinged nonsense, we have blah, blah, blah on the line from, but that wouldn't have held up for you. So what's on your mind tonight, Jack?
Speed cameras here in Ocean Shores. We don't have an actual traffic light yet, but they're put up cameras. No, that was a joke.
Do you have traffic circles?
Power Rangers. Yeah, we have one roundabout.
Yeah, those are neat. We have like 50 here in Keene now. They're adding another. And it's a complete cluster nightmare of what they're doing.
Oh,
there.
really?
Oh, yeah. It's
Well, just the construction. The actual like roundabouts are pretty cool.
Not there, it's not. But anyways,
there's going to be like 15 and like 4 square feet of each other. So that's going to be a little bit excessive. But you called in tonight about He-Man. So what's on your mind about that?
Well, I want to say that Power Rangers and modern K-pop kind of have like a weird similarity. I don't see anything satanic about, neither one of them, but, it's just kind of like this weird pop culture thing.
Me and Ian were watching K-pop last night, and I hate when any of the girl groups that are not Twice. Seriously, like, they're all so commercial. Twice is the name of a girl group.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
yeah, that totally went over my head.
Twice is well put together. All of them are so beautiful, and all of their music videos are so like high production value and stuff. And there's about 1 million other girl groups in K-pop that are just like the equivalent of, like whatever really crappy commercialized pop star you can think of that nobody actually listens to. And that's all I have to say is Ian finds lots of entertainment in those ones, and I'm just like, how can you possibly enjoy this when it's not as good as Twice?
To me, it would probably all sound more or less interchangeable. I mean, I can't say that for sure, but I would speculate that would be my impression of it. But what similarity have you seen, Bonnie, between K-pop and the Power Rangers?
I've never seen anything involving the Power Rangers, so I can't say.
So, Jack, what the hell are you talking about?
It just seems manufactured. They all look like dolls.
That's the word I was thinking of.
Okay.
But what does that have to do with Power Rangers?
I don't know. It's there's a similarity that it may not be on the same plane.
Well, they're kind of like teams. Like all K-pop groups are like 5 or more people. Twice has 9, I think. And
they are choreographed like the Power Rangers. I watched the Power Rangers clip recently. I cannot believe how bad that garbage was when I was a kid. It's not making children gay or satanic. It's just making them stupid.
I still can't get past the fact that they don't play instruments and there's still 9 of them. Like, what are they doing?
Mostly with K-pop, it's like really impressive dancing. And that's why I don't understand how Ian can watch the really bland manufactured ones that are just exist to make people money that aren't that impressive. Like Twice is so like you.
That's what all of it exists for, right?
I mean, that's pretty much pop music, right?
Well, yeah, Twice is the most like successful one in K-pop. It's like the Britney Spears of K-pop. But I'm just saying, like it's like there's actual talent and impressive stuff going on, and with the other ones, it's just like Ian just likes like young girls. That's all.
That didn't sound good.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that came out wrong. How many people are in India?
Sounded right to me. How many people are in what?
India.
Should I dump this whole
like a billion?
Amazing.
In the country of India, the subcontinent of India, I think it's like 600 million. I don't know the population. Why?
Well, we can't be wrong about Bollywood. If you watch some of that stuff,
I like Bollywood. Okay, I can get down with that.
Did my brain still fried from
I don't know
Bonnie
what he's
sitting
saying.
here going, Ian likes little girls.
I didn't say little girls. I said young women.
Okay. I don't remember what you said, but I was just like, yeah. So, I don't see the similarities between K-pop and Power Rangers other than that they're choreographed or whatever. So thank you so much for the call tonight, Jack. He actually wanted to mention He-Man as well, but I think it was along the same lines. It's just bizarre to me that these people sit around looking for these things to find that are satanic and then struggle to find a single example. Like Bonnie, you mentioned someone who did this with like Lady Gaga and stuff like that. But at least they're able to say, hey, look, here's the satanic imagery right here, that goat's head thing, that's satanic. And people go, oh, okay. But you don't get any of that in the Power Rangers. You just get stupid nonsense.
Yeah, what you were reading just sounded like the nonsense of somebody who thought that they could make money selling these books to Christians.
So I've seen some of it, and it's probably similar to what Bonnie was talking about with those YouTube videos where you watch it and it's like, oh, that's a little scary. But they go into like the Illuminati and Beyonce and Lady Gaga and all of these pop stars and how they're all devil worshippers and part of the Illuminati. And they do kind of give some sort of evidence, whether you believe it or see it or not is a whole nother story. But it just seems like this guy is just really grasping for anything, or maybe he's just making it up in his head, because I don't see how the Power Rangers are devil worshippers.
I think he's just trying to make money because it's aimed towards parents, it's aimed towards Christianity. He's writing books about it, you know.
Well, it's presumably easy to make money off Christians, and he's not the first one to do it. He claims that he was like driving somewhere one day and God spoke to him and was like, hey, look, there's Satan in the toy box or some kind of nonsense like that. But we saw something similar from this video game manufacturer in the late 80s who just released these garbage games that no one bought. Everyone hated them. And then he was like, they couldn't get them in stores because of Nintendo, and it was just this nightmare. And he came up with this brilliant idea. We're going to rebrand them as Christian games and get them in Christian bookstores. And then that way, Christians are guaranteed to buy them. And I hate it. I hate everything about it, but the dude wasn't wrong.
Yeah.
And the Christian bookstores, they weren't worried about Nintendo saying, hey, look, you can't sell these other video games, because they weren't selling them in the first place. And that was the thing that Nintendo had to keep these crappy ones out of like Target and Walmart. Like, hey, if you sell these crappy ones, we won't give you the good ones.
That's kind of what I wonder about, like, Skillet. Like, there are lots of crossover bands, and I'm like, I don't understand what about Skillet is necessarily Christian, but they promote themselves as, like, a crossover band, like a Christian rock band, and I think that they just put that label on, and then they have a whole other, like, audience, and Skillet's not that bad.
Yeah, they're not that bad. They said some things live, I think, at one concert that I was at, that I was like, oh, okay, yeah, that's a Christian band. But
they prayed for me.
Really?
Yep.
That's
I was in
awesome.
a car accident on the way to go see them.
Social.freetalklive.com if you want to hang out with us on the internet. In the meantime, that's social.freetalklive.com.
Gold and silver. You can own the most stable assets in recorded history with Bullion Max.